Go. A lot of years, had a lot of cheers, had a lot of fans, got a strong stand. A lot of wants, I got a lot of but now my I know, you got a time to grow and go and do what you do. Do what you do, do what you do. Move on the moon and show the future is you. Do what you do what you do. Move on the moon and show the future is you. Do what you do what you do. Move on the moon and show the future is. Started it all below the bottom. No, I didn't belong, I started calling. No, all that I lost ain't gonna stop me. Cause all of it taught me how to solve me. A lot of years, had a lot of cheers, had a lot of dares, gotta stop and stare. Lot of wants, I got a lot of fears, but I know my time is here. I know my time is here. I'm singing. This has been a crazy year. Market taking, making tears. Heart is sinking, hate the mirror. Made me want to disappear. Made me wish I wasn't here, but I know I gotta dare. People watching me to cheer. I'm reflecting out the dreams. Every question is a beam. So the blessings gave me wings to fly to you. I'm guided by the feelings inside of you. I'm guided by the things that inspire you. And we can see the future is possible. It's possible. Like, I know what I can do. Send a little love to the vibe of you. Send a little touch and we're shining through. Send a little what I'll be conquered to you. Do what you do what you do. Move on the moon and show the future is you. Do what you do what you do. Move on the moon and show the future is. A lot of years, had a lot of cheers, had a lot of dares, gotta stop and stare. A lot of wants, I got a lot of fears, but I know my time is here. I know my time is here. I'm singing. Working on the dream on my off days. Money gotta talk what the cards say. Life is a game that you gotta play. And I've been taking shots from a far away spot. I was in the hack, but my heart ain't dry. I'ma get it back in a few more stops. Trying to make me feel I can do what I do. I'll be doing me till the future is you. Started it all below the bottom. I didn't belong, I started calling. Now all that I lost ain't gonna stop me. Cause all of it taught me how to solve me. Do what you do what you do. Move to the moon until the future is you. Do what you do what you do. Move to the moon until the future is.
Since the creation of the internet, every industry has been turned upside down. Amazon changed retail. Uber changed transportation. YouTube changed video forever. With the invention of crypto, money is next. At the speed technology is growing, the future of money and securities are digital. 9 out of 10 millennials do not trust banks. The value of money relies on trust. Government debt is higher than it's ever been before. Central banks continue to print money. Fortunately, the world has a new solution. Experts predict in 7 years, 10% of the world's economy will be in crypto-based assets. Today, 1 billion people have access to the financial industry. Crypto is about empowering the other 6 billion people by banking the unbanked. Do not underestimate this. Do you wish you invested in Google, Amazon, or Netflix before anyone ever knew about them? $1,000 invested in Netflix turned to over $500,000. At Token Metrics, we help you find the next Netflix. Token Metrics users think differently about investing. They are early adopters looking for financial freedom. They are people who see a better world. a world without international borders. We believe in a world where everyone has access to the next financial revolution. At Token Metrics, we are creating a bridge that gets you to that revolution. We will help you make sound investments in this new world. The world's best investors do not rely on their intuition. They embrace technology and AI to invest. Token Metrics uses AI to find invisible patterns in data to help you invest and trade in crypto. In the past, we have used our data-driven system to achieve financial freedom. Now, we are giving you the keys. We created Token Metrics to be the only platform you'll ever need to make money in crypto. We give you AI and access to crypto experts at the best price. The moon is not the limit. To the moon and beyond.
Disclaimer. Token Metrics Media LLC does not provide individually tailored investment advice and does not take a subscriber's or anyone's personal circumstance into consideration when discussing investments, nor is it registered as an investment advisor or broker-dealer in any jurisdiction. Information contained herein is not an offer or solicitation to buy, hold, or sell any security. The Token Metrics team has advised and invested in many blockchain companies. A complete list of their advisory roles and current holdings can be viewed here at tokenmetrics.com/disclosures.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Ian Belina, being joined by Bill. How are you, Bill?
Ian, I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, man. I mean, what a crazy world we're in. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, pretty much speechless. I don't really know how to even have the show, actually. But we're pretty much just going to freestyle it and just kind of speak our minds. So obviously, for those who don't know, who aren't in America, America is basically on fire. I mean, so from DC to Houston to New York, Miami, basically it's just chaos. It's mayhem, right? And I think in a way, this really does affect not only America, but also the economy as well. And as a result, because America is the biggest economy in the world, also the global economy. And because it has to deal with the economy and inequality, in a way, crypto can also kind of be almost like a saving grace. Now, we're not really trying to bring or infuse politics into the show, but we do think crypto really brings together people from so many different walks of life into investing, into finance. And I think just with this show, there's no way, at least for me, there's no way I could just go on talking about the price as if America is not on fire. So please bear with us. This is going to be a very impromptu freestyle show. So first person on the live stream was Mark. What's up, Mark? How are you? Hope everything is well over there in Australia. Shout out to Zenobia, to Alice. Hey, Alice, how are you? James, what's up, James? Red for Danger, Alpha Diallo, Zenobia, Christopher Walker. Iron Man says, Atlanta, what's up? Crazy times. Yes, crazy times indeed. Okay. Yeah, so this is going out to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, pretty much everywhere. If you have any questions you'd like to ask during this live stream, please go to menti.com. That's MENTI.com. Use the code 687921. That's 687921 to ask your questions. So this entire live stream is about crypto and inequality. And really what we think crypto is a way for anybody around the world to really almost push the reset button in terms of their finance and building wealth. All right, so any questions you have, please send them over there. So prior to hopping into the show, Bill, could you please give people a quick intro on yourself?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I started off as a technical analyst a long time ago, and I have worked for big brokerage firms like Morgan Stanley during the dot-com bust, I worked for Goldman for 12 years and was right in the middle of that 2008 financial crisis. I have retail experience at Schwab and as an analyst with a company that was bought by Morningstar. So what is it that I do for a living? Well, I help people navigate markets in chaotic environments. So my progression to crypto was sort of natural because, crypto used to have a crisis every day, although the definition of a crisis is rapidly changing before our eyes. Okay. And then I got my crypto cred by starting to work with Charlie Shrem, and here I am with Ian.
All right. Thank you, Bill. And then, obviously, I'm Ian Bellina. I'm the founder and CEO of Token Metrics, also a partner at 100x Advisors, which is a blockchain investment and advisory firm. Prior to that, I was working in analytics and data at IBM. I was covering North America for all of open source analytics, working with companies like Staples, Macy's, Delta, basically Fortune 20, Fortune 500 companies. Also worked as an IT consultant at Deloitte. And yeah, so prior to hopping into the show, I think because this is a crypto show and we do have to kind of talk crypto too, Bill, let's kind of hop into crypto therapy and kind of see how the markets are.
Okay.
All right, so Bill's gonna pull that up.
All right, so let's let's do something shocking. Let's talk about something being methodical and orderly. Who would have ever thought that when we're talking about something methodical and orderly, we would be talking about crypto? So this is an intraday chart of Bitcoin on BitMEX. All right, so it looks busy. So what I'm going to give it to you in English, right? So Bitcoin has trended up nicely. It looks like a nice 5-wave pattern. So that means that the trend is up. And right now, Bitcoin is probably going to be in some sort of consolidation, okay? Either between 9,300 and 9,450, somewhere in here. It might look like a triangle. Bitcoin may have to deal with the stock market waking up to the fact that, the Fed cannot print their way out of social disorder. All right. So Bitcoin looks okay. It's doing what you'd want it to do when it was consolidating. Now, Ethereum, the Ethereum dream, at least I got to live it for like a day. Okay. At least with Ethereum being up off the social disorder. So this is a formation that was made famous by a very old trader. I still think it's very important and relevant. I think Ethereum taking off is just the beginning for Ethereum of a larger move to 500. Now, one of the things I like is when I look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, okay? And I see Ethereum versus Bitcoin breaking through a particular level, this diagonal line here. Okay, now previously Ethereum versus Bitcoin has failed at this particular line. So when this instrument goes up, it means Ethereum's doing better than Bitcoin. Now, there could be a consolidation phase, but I think this is going to continue, right? In other words, Ethereum's going to go up 10%, and Bitcoin's going to go up 3%. Or Bitcoin's going to go down 10%, and Ethereum may only go down 3 or 5. So I would expect this to continue. Now, let's move to some important alt charts that I just want to highlight. So Tezos, my kind of, proof of stake favorite, is near a big diagonal point near 3. These are Gann lines. They're different from the lines that you see, say, on my other charts. Still colorful, though. Mm-hmm. So Tezos is running into a little bit of a resistance near 3, okay? And what I would like to see from this and one other alt I'll pull up is I would like to see these alts, okay, they hit resistance, not the end of the world, but I would like to see some sort of normal consolidation, not have these things crumble. Now, my prediction is that they won't crumble. The only way they will is if everything crumbles because stocks do. But I would like to see these alts just sort of consolidate quietly. All right. Stellar is very similar. Okay. Like Stellar popped up Okay. But then Stellar came off after hitting one of these diagonal lines almost to the number. Okay. So these alts tried to push higher and they couldn't make it. All right. Now that's not the end of the world, but I'd like to see an orderly consolidation. So that's kind of like the general chart picture. I could like start going into equities and other things, but we'll talk about that as people want to talk about it.
All right, thank you for that, Bill. Great overview on that. Okay, all right. So now let's hop into really what we're here to talk about. So, crypto and inequality is the title of the show and video. So let's kind of just quickly give an overview of what's happening here in America for those people who are watching this outside of America. So over here in America, basically a person called George Floyd has been the catalyst to a huge uproar across all of America. So this happened in Minnesota and Minneapolis. So basically this person was arrested by, I believe, 4 officers, and they ended up killing him. And for those who've been following the entire Black Lives Matter and everything that happens here in America, I think really the social unrest of people being quarantined at home, being unemployed, and then also having unemployment checks coming in has really created this never before seen tension and almost a free pass to kind of go to the edge, right? So I mean, I myself, as a Black man in America, I'm definitely for peaceful protests. I would say peaceful protests. However, I'm definitely not for riots, right? Because now we're basically in anarchy almost, and I think it's pretty crazy. Definitely not for anybody killing anybody. I've seen the crazy videos. I think it was in Dallas where a person who had a shop was basically almost killed by a gang of mobs. Now, obviously, people are also instigating things. So, I mean, it's pretty almost divisive in a way, right? I myself, I'm definitely for reform in terms of the system. I personally do feel that the system is broken. As somebody who's been in America, I would say for more than 20 years, I definitely know the system is broken. But like in all systems, there isn't really a perfect system. Now, I still believe, as somebody who's been to over 40 countries in the world, I still strongly believe America is the best country in the world. Now, obviously, that's my subjective view. But as someone who's traveled around the world, every time I come back to America, I'm like, man, I love America. Right? But just like with every family you love, you also realize that there are growing pains. And I think there's definitely an uproar, especially people who feel disenfranchised, right? Obviously, I'm kind of more well off than the average person. Obviously, I made money in crypto and everything. So in a way, I am somewhat removed from the people who are really going through issues themselves. But as somebody who didn't really come from wealth and basically had to create my own wealth, I can also understand the pains, because I mean, for those who followed my channel prior to crypto, the channel was really built about empowering minorities in terms of making money and achieving success, right? So it was really a motivational channel about being an entrepreneur, about making money. And now that we're really in this chaotic time where people, I mean, unemployment is over 20%. People have no jobs, they're locked at home, and now there's just so much tension happening at the same time that almost it basically reached a point where enough is enough, and this was really a catalyst. I don't think this is happening because of George Floyd. I think this is happening, and this is really kind of a reason for people to really bring all the emotions they've been keeping locked up for a while, right? Let me pause there and see if you have anything to add to that, Bill.
Well, I mean, I think you got it right on there. One thing I would add is when it comes to crypto, because I've been to a couple of crypto conventions, crypto is great because if I'm into crypto and you're into crypto, we're instantly friends. Race, creed, color, country of origin, it doesn't matter. We're into crypto. Okay. Now, in terms of inequality, so we got a police officer who kills a guy who was already cuffed. And this type of thing in America happens before, and the police seems to forget that people carry iPhones. So it's on video and distributed. Now, what I think is happening is the police have become a symbol of the people protecting the top 1%. Okay. So, I mean, what's happening, to men who get killed and they all happen to be African-American, that's really bad in police custody, but it's morphed into something worse now. Okay. Because the police are becoming a symbol for the system and for people who have everything, like the Fed printing $2.6 trillion and levitating the stock market, and everybody else barely has enough money to eat. So this is when social disorder turns into chaos. I saw something on Twitter. Okay. A guy held up a sign outside one of the buildings, Treasury, etc. It said, "Can you print my dinner?"
Wow.
Can you print? Can you print money? Does that mean I get to eat? Okay. Okay. So the answer to that would be no. And if anyone out there is wondering, what are Americans doing? Like, there's no social distancing at a riot. What are we doing? What's boiling over is that there are people who have everything. We have governments. Governments are handling things really well, right? Wrong. Okay. Governments have been screwing this up from the beginning, from the national to the local level. Okay. And people are just like, okay, I think it's time for crypto. You cannot print my dinner, and the only way I'm going to get my dinner is to get a different currency. Right? We can't move to a new planet. So we're going to have to get a different currency, or we're going to have to be with a group of people who think the same way about economics, and that's hashtag crypto family.
Yeah, I mean, crypto family, wherever you are, stay strong. Now, one thing that does now really come to mind is we all knew we were going into a recession, and the pandemic seemed to kind of have peaked, and now we're really coming into recovery. But all of this changes everything now. I mean, like, if you had a shop or a storefront, I mean, that's now being vandalized, that's not really good for the economy in terms of recovery and bouncing back. And I think this could even be a catalyst for almost everything now to go digital, because things were already heading towards there thanks to the pandemic. But now with the riots and everything, I mean, like, I was watching TV today and somebody said that this was in LA on Melrose Avenue, which is a popular street in LA, that they lost about $500,000 worth of goods from looting, then the place was burned down after that. So I think entrepreneurs who have storefronts and retail places, basically mom and pop shops, and also big companies as well, will lose money. So this is definitely going to affect the entire retail industry. And then we also have all those people now, what next? And I think really the way forward is going digital. And a while back, somebody told me that they believe in terms of the future of shopping, you basically have the big chains like the Amazons of the world, and the small mom and pop shops, they'll all be retail. I mean, online. So, Bill, how does this impact the economy from an investor standpoint? Because all of us here in crypto, we saw what happened with the pandemic, where a crash in stocks and legacy markets led to a crash in Bitcoin, right? So now that we're going into Monday this week, how's the American economy going to be impacted by all these riots? Do you think there'll be a big sell-off?
Well, certainly equities have to get real. The question is, how much does that affect crypto? I don't know. Okay. One of the things I do know is that, apparently in Minneapolis, the store of choice for looting was Target, of all places, right? Mm-hmm. Soccer moms go there. But Target had to close 175 stores.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Big.
And I think when you start talking about the American economy, from everything from the economy to rule of law, right? if your neighborhood store's gone, you're going to have a tougher time getting food. You may have to drive farther, and hopefully the street's not blocked off. Right. So people get more upset and more on edge. Okay. So and that's not to mention what happens if you need to call 911. Is anybody coming? Honestly. Right.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's probably no.
Right.
Which is sad.
So if you have the economics and the rule of law, okay, you have economics and the rule of law, they go hand in hand. Like you go to business school, you read a book. To have free market economics, you need the rule of law. And then all of a sudden, again, funny, not funny, but all of a sudden, crypto, blockchain, proof of work, proof of stake just became something orderly in a world where there is no order, right? Like everyone here in Houston is talking about locusts and floods are next, right? Everyone's already going to what's next. We have disease, riots, 3, 4, 5, etc. So when people start thinking that way, all right, that's what can have the effect. If 175 Target stores are closed, that's not the end of the American economy. Okay, what could be a problem for the American economy if everybody's too scared to go to the rest of the Target stores? So that's how I would round that out.
Yeah, I mean, good points there. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, as you said, I also don't really know what's going to happen. All I know is, I mean, crypto is a good hedge in times like this, right? And now we're not here just trying to shill our bags with crypto and just being pro-crypto everything, but I mean, right now there's lots of uncertainty in the economy, and crypto is meant to be a hedge against currency risk and a hedge versus political risk. And right now, I mean, in America, of all places, one of the, I would say the few countries where we expected to have political risk, we now really have that. And we're going into an election year, 2020. And I think this is going to be probably one of the craziest election years ever. I mean, because at this point, whatever was working before, I think as we go towards this new election, everything goes out the window. Like everybody's policies from before goes out the window because now the climate has changed politically here in America, right? I mean, because I think just by the fact we have riots that have gone crazy across the entire country, in Seattle, in LA, in DC, New York, Miami, it's not just in one city. It's not like there are even protests in Berlin, Germany. I mean, so they've actually gone pretty global. So I think all of this really leads to a time where nobody knows what's going to happen, unfortunately. But we do know there is risk, and we think having a hedge against that risk with crypto definitely does make sense. But going back to the entire point of the video, right? Crypto helps inequality. Crypto is designed to help the unbanked. It's designed to help bank the unbanked. Typically, that means in the developing world, but that can also be in developing countries like here in America or in Europe. And I think we can definitely do a lot more to bring more disenfranchised people, more minorities into crypto and blockchain, because it could be a way to really break the chains and kind of break away from a system of oppression, right? I know myself, I was working in the corporate world. I've gone through discrimination myself, and quite frankly, crypto was my saving grace. I mean, I made my millions in crypto, and I just said, okay, you know what? Thank you. I'm out of here, right? I mean, I still loved working in IBM. It was great, but I think in any large group setting, you'll have outliers. You have people who are either who have discrimination or who have just different points of view. And I think that's just natural. That's just a human element, no matter where you are. I mean, even in my own country, in Uganda, people have tribalism. People hate each other, even though they look exactly alike, because one of the person is from a different tribe. So I don't think it's really like a black or white thing. I think it's just a human thing, right? Humans always find ways to just have drama in a way. Now, I do believe there is oppression, not only in America, but just globally, in terms of people who have different backgrounds or ethnicities. And I think really the best way to fight that is to write your own ticket. And I mean, that's why I really launched this channel, was to help empower people financially. Because when you have your own FU money, you tell people F you. Because you become your own boss, right? So I think that's why crypto is really a way to break inequality everywhere, because people can become their own bank and don't really have to depend on a bank, don't have to depend on a middleman, and can also invest and make their own money and then use that to really empower themselves. All right. Anything to add to that, Bill?
Sure. So here's a couple here's a choice, right? I heard something that 60 Secret Service agents and uniformed officers got hurt at the White House trying to protect the building. So here is a couple choices. You can buy some ether, or you can fight the Secret Service at the White House. You know what? I am really all for the ether choice. All right. Let's buy some ether. Let's look at some charts. And crypto is freedom, right? What does America stand for? Freedom. Okay. Why are they protesting in Berlin? Well, because there's haves and have-nots everywhere, and the have-nots are over it. Now we, since this is on YouTube, would love to have the have-nots buy some ether rather than loot a Louis Vuitton store. Okay. So think crypto as a way to push back against the system.
Yeah. I mean, well said. Well said. All right. Let us know what you think about this entire ordeal happening right now in America. Tell us in the comments down below. Okay, so a few comments here. Mike's World says, those corporations trying to make money back from what they lost from the shutdown, so insurance money fits the bill. Okay. And Tombi says, good morning from South Africa. Welcome. How are you? Is Ren the next Bitcoin? No, it is not. Unfortunately, it's not the next Bitcoin. What's up, King Nick? Thanks for joining. Okay, Freakazoid says, where do you get your numbers about the economy? Acting like crypto can solve everything while using the indicators of the bank-owned markets in the first place doesn't make sense. I'm not sure which numbers you're talking about. Bill, did you mention any numbers about the economy?
No, I think we were making a larger point that crypto is just simply an alternative financial system and currency system to what's happening out there now.
Okay.
Right. In other words, it's not a push button replacement for what's out there now, but it can accelerate. So negative things can accelerate, right? Like these situations, the pandemic, violence. We're sort of hoping something good can accelerate, like crypto.
Yeah. Okay. Question here from Think Supreme on YouTube. So black people should buy some ether so they won't get shot. LOL. I mean, so we're definitely not saying that. I mean, so I think what Bill was trying to say is that buying crypto is a way to break any system of oppression. I mean, but to kind of abstract from that even more, I mean, if somebody feels disenfranchised, or if they feel like they're going through discrimination, for example, let's say they feel that black people are being shot at a higher rate in their city than other places, right? Now, I'm all for fighting against that. I mean, because I myself, quite frankly, do believe that's true, right? But I think what we're getting at is looting and burning down places and even possibly killing other people is not really the best way forward, right? And I think we can really kind of model from other peaceful protests. I mean, so from Dr. Martin Luther King to Mahatma Gandhi. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like don't like let's all just kumbaya and we think all this will just go away. I mean, I definitely don't think that's going to happen, right? I feel like, I mean, because I do believe almost in a way in that Nietzschean philosophy where he says like sometimes you have to use strength to kind of, or rather just make noise to really be heard, right? So I'm all for making noise. And I think people who, if you're black or if you're in any other part of the world, maybe the Middle East, wherever, if you feel disenfranchised and you feel oppressed, you can definitely make noise. I mean, I'm all for making noise. I'm just saying, I feel like in a way we've kind of already made a point to a point we don't have to keep on burning the entire place down, right? Because now that gets back to the economy, and it's a cycle that will hurt people in those places, right? So, for example, if you're in a neighborhood that depends on a store, burning it down might feel gratifying in the short term, but in the long term, it's gonna come home to roost, right? So I feel like there are definitely other ways to get the message across without having to burn everything down, right? Because I mean, obviously, I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. I know some people don't necessarily believe in being a capitalist per se, but I still believe capitalism is really the best way forward, right? Now, one thing to note is we have to differentiate between crony capitalism and real capitalism. And I think nowadays lots of people think crony capitalism is real capitalism. Crony capitalism is not really following a free market where people get rewarded and have the incentives to build more. I mean, for best example is this week. During this entire chaos, Elon Musk took 2 people to space with SpaceX. The first time a private company took two people to space. I mean, so he didn't do that for charity. He did that for the economic incentives, right? And I feel like if we want to really improve people who are disenfranchised, people who really lack capital or the means or feel oppressed, we should really teach capitalism. We should teach entrepreneurship. I mean, like me myself, like the way I broke the chains and left what I would say was a bad environment wasn't by burning my employer's place down. It was by learning the skills to make myself better through investing in crypto and just being an entrepreneur and being able to build my own company and basically feed myself. And so basically, if you don't like where you are, the best way forward is really to work on yourself and break away, right? So if you for example, let's say you work at Target and you don't like Target, or let's say you feel Target is paying you $13 an hour and you feel you're entitled to more money. I don't think burning Target down is the best way forward, and I don't think trying to force Target to increase the minimum wage is also the best way forward, because Target can just lock up shop and go send all their jobs to India, or just become purely e-commerce. So I think really there has to be a better way forward. And I think once you really understand capitalism and the economy, you realize that socialism is not the answer, but maybe a more improved way of capitalism is the answer. Because nowadays what the government does isn't really capitalism, it's crony capitalism. I know I've kind of been rambling all over the place. Bill, anything to add to that?
Oh, sure. So I'm a Texan and a patriot. So I definitely believe in everybody's legal right to defend themselves, whether you're, being discriminated against at work or somebody is trying to hurt you. So I don't think Ethereum is going to help you if you need to defend yourself. Here in Texas, we have other things for that. All right. So everybody has the right to protect themselves. I was echoing what Ian was saying, which is that if you're at home and you're sitting in front of your computer and you say, how can I push back against the system? Like, what small thing can I do? Like, right. Well, I'm going to invest in a different type of system, in a different type of money. I'm going to study something else, the way Ian did. Right. So crypto is not going to solve the world's problems, but crypto is a protest unto itself. And when Ian's talking about crony capitalism, he's talking about things like the Fed printing money to levitate stocks and CEOs of companies getting paid based on the price of their stocks. The Fed levitates the market and the CEOs sell their stock and quit. Google how many CEOs quit right before the pandemic. A lot of them did. Okay. So this goes back to haves and have-nots. And how do you go from being a have-not to a have? Well, not necessarily throwing a brick at an armed police officer. So my simple suggestion, even though I over condensed it, was, maybe try Ethereum instead of the brick.
All right. So let's check in here with the audience. Okay, so just a few comments here. Iron Man says, Ian, some people don't understand your perspective because they aren't educated enough to see how one thing affects the next. Thank you for that comment. Then Inner Standing says, people are going to do what they're programmed to do. We are at that stage now. You can't make sense out of something that does not make sense. Yeah, I mean, definitely does not make sense. I mean, all I can say is, I mean, I personally myself don't agree with looting and breaking things down, because that makes it tougher to rebuild, right? I mean, but I definitely do sympathize with people's pain or grief and emotions, right? So definitely don't want to kind of appear like we don't, like we believe everything's kumbaya. I mean, I definitely do feel people's pains. Good looking honkies says, you won't win. I'm sorry, civil war is not in the best interest. Yeah, I think war is definitely not in the best interest. Crypto Elf says, America is crony capitalism and kleptocracy. Okay. How long do we have to hold to get rich, bro? Well, I mean, that depends on what you're holding. All right. All I can say is make sure you use Token Metrics, because we're here to help you. All right. In a way, that's why when I made Token Metrics, it's always really been about helping regular people out. I mean, because I could have just made my money behind the scenes, either raised a fund or whatever, but it was always about helping the little guy and girl, right? Because those are people who really need the help the most, right? And I have lots of my friends, those who ended up forming hedge funds, they said, Ian, why do you bother with retail investors? Like they're noobs, they're whatever. And to me, it was really just about helping people, right? Because sure, somebody can just be behind the scenes and just manage their own money or manage money for other rich people. But to me, that wasn't really empowering, right? So to me, that's kind of why I love doing these live streams, because it's kind of my way of being in tune with the people out there who are still going through the struggle of trying to invest in crypto and being able to help them out, right? So I feel like that's kind of my way forward. Okay, so a few other comments here. Iron Man says, buy Ethereum, and the more people adopt this, the more independent freedom you will have from being oppressed. Okay, Think Supreme again says, how does crypto stop systemic racism against people of color? You guess just suggested that as a remedy. Well, I think crypto is not the only remedy to racism, right? Think Supreme. So I would say it really has to come from within, right? I mean, so I can say books that have really inspired me myself. Read books by Friedrich Nietzsche. For those who follow me on Instagram, I've posted some very inspirational quotes from Nietzsche on my stories. So just go to Diary of a Made Man on Instagram, check that out. But I would say read his books, read his other books. I would say read almost all his books. Read books. I like books by Malcolm X and some other people. But in general, at the end of the day, if you want to kind of better your life, it has to come from within, right? Meaning that don't expect other people or a system to change your life, right? So for example, if you feel there's systemic racism, what I'm saying is, yes, I agree with you. It does exist in all parts of the world, and the way forward is to really understand the system, then break away from it through other means, right? So for me, I basically escaped the corporate world by making my own money on the side through being an entrepreneur, basically through capitalism. Then once that was successful, I left, right? I didn't wait for a handout or for somebody to try to fix the system. I basically kind of broke away by building my own system. And now I'm self-sufficient as an entrepreneur, and I basically make my own money, right? Because at the end of the day, systems, it takes a lot of force and a lot of pressure for them to crumble, and it takes a long time for them to crumble, right? Because I don't believe this is going to happen overnight. I think it's going to take a long time, and sometimes the best way to actually kind of fight it is to not partake in the system, if that makes sense. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but we're live, and I'm trying to handle my best doing all this live, because this is definitely a sensitive topic, for sure, right? I mean, all I can say is, I mean, whatever race you are, if you feel like if you feel like there's racism wherever you are, the best way forward is really make your own FU money, and that kind of takes you away from the system, if that makes sense. This is purely kind of speaking from my perspective in the corporate world, right? But obviously, if people are being shot or whatever, right, that's a totally different ball game, right? I feel like if there's racism in politics or in the police department or wherever you are, I mean, the best thing to do is to really vote, right? So we have elections this year here in America in 2020, and I think all those people who are protesting and doing the riots, if they just got together and just voted, right, they can definitely affect some change. But I think now people really understand, okay, there's a large demographic of people who feel this particular way, and we should definitely pay attention to this, because obviously they've been making lots and lots of noise, right? So I think that's the positive aspect of a peaceful protest, right? But I think you begin to hurt yourself once you start really creating riots and shooting people and doing all kinds of crime, basically, right? Because I don't think you can hide behind whatever reasons you have to justify a crime. All right, Bill, anything to add to that?
Certainly. So in economics, there's this concept of voting with your feet, right? So if you've got a group of people over here who the system, you don't like it, they're not treating you right, they're not treating other people right, you don't have to wait for that system to change. You can get off that elevator and get on another elevator and just vote with your feet, right? And how do you vote with your feet? Well, you take your business, your economics, okay, you're investing, and you go somewhere else. All right. So that's what you did. So vote, you can vote at the polls, but you can also vote with your feet, where who do you do your business with? Who do you trade with? How do you think about the world? Which is, I think, what you're suggesting, right?
Right.
Vote with your feet.
Yeah, I mean, so just to kind of add to that again, sorry, these things just kind of keep on coming to me. So here's probably the best example I can come up with, right? So let's say let's say, for example, Black people or Hispanics or whatever fill some storefront this is probably the best example, right? I went to Paris back in 2018, went to the bourgeoisie neighborhood, which is really the neighborhood where the term bougie comes from, right? And I was warned about the racism in Paris, France, but I just kind of brushed it aside, thinking, yeah, whatever. But I went there, I was shocked in the bourgeoisie how blatant it was, right? So for example, me and my friends, Ugo, we're going around trying to go to stores for those who don't know, the bourgeoisie neighborhood is basically like the fancy designer neighborhood where all the designer shops are, right? So we were there shopping, and there are some stores we went to, and we're trying to enter, and they told us we couldn't enter. And this is something I myself don't even experience in America much, at least, right? But in France, it was really kind of pretty blatant. Like the place would be totally empty, and they'll just tell us, hey, this place is closed, you can't enter. And we're checking the time, it says that they're still open, but it was really a subtle way of saying, we don't want you inside here because this is for a particular group of people. And that was several stores in France, right? And I think, I mean, for me, the response to that is not to burn the place down per se. I mean, because that's not going to do much. The response is to vote with my wallet and take my money elsewhere to somebody who will take my money. And I think if we get enough people to do things like that, then those companies will most likely go out of business if they aren't really getting the money And I think that's a better way of voting, right? So so if you really want to change the system, yes, you can vote by going to the booth, but you can also vote with your wallet, right? Send your money elsewhere, all right? Whether it's to other vendors who have better attitudes towards people like you, or whether it's using crypto, right? So I think there are lots of ways to really bring down a system without having to use violence per se, right? Now don't get me wrong, right? I know, for example, America broke away from Great Britain through war, right? So I mean, I definitely do understand, like, sometimes like war has to happen, right? But I think in terms of what we're doing now, I think the ways we can really affect things and affect change even more by just voting, right? So for example, I follow Jason Calacanis. He's an angel investor. Great book. He has a great book, by the way, about how he made 100 million investing in companies like Uber, Thumbtack, and others. But basically, he's saying that, I mean, he's willing to invest in anybody who's a minority who wants to build something like for either the next Facebook, the next Instagram, or whatever, right? So the avenues to really to make your voices heard, and by diverting your attention and your money away from things that perpetuate a particular system or belief. Apologies for being all over the place, but I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to say, even though my mind is moving a million times an hour. All right. Okay, Benjamin says we need violence. Absolutely not. I mean, I think violence is not really the answer, at least right now. I mean, violence is really the answer. So not sure why you're saying that. I mean, because violence right now and looting is not gonna, it's not gonna do much. I mean, yes, I know that wars do happen, right? And I know there are civil wars, but I think what we're in now, we can do without violence. I mean, so, okay, John Trefero says, Pretty Woman, Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. Okay. So To the Moon Crypto says, economics is the way to change it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, anyway, I mean, that's kind of our opinions on a very sensitive topic. So let's stop there and go to the next section. But feel free to share with us what you think down in the comments below. Okay, all right. So for those who are just joining, if you would like to submit your questions to our AMA, go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and use the code 687921. That's 687921. Let me post this here in the chat so everybody can go and send in their questions. Okay, all right. Before we do, if you haven't yet joined, please be sure to join our forum by going to forum.tokenmetrics.com. That's forum.tokenmetrics.com. We go over here and we have lots of people asking different questions. Some people asking about helium, which was a recent report we covered to our customers at tokenmetrics.com. So the forum is the best place to go through and participate with the community and ask any questions you have around crypto. So be sure to do that. Now, let me see if we can get some questions here from the audience. Just give me 1 second. Okay, somebody had questions about price predictions. I think we already answered that. And we answered a question about nodes. Sorry, just give me a few seconds here. Okay, so let's just do some quick shout outs to people who just joined the forum recently. So here we have Lily. She says, hello, my name is Lila. I live in south of France. I'm a pastry chef. I discovered Ian and the crypto in early 2018. Since I've learned a lot about it and in a wider way learned more about the financial system as well as investment, I am now seeking financial and simple freedom to live otherwise than normal or usual. I am a strong believer in Bitcoin and blockchain technology philosophy. My wishes are for a positive change in the world after 1 year trading course. I have started slowly the practice of trading. I am very glad to be able to exchange with the community in this forum and share. I like ideas and learn from all you guys. Thank you, Lila. Welcome to the forum. Great to have you here.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. I would say, what's the word? Damn, I have to practice my French. But merci beaucoup, mon ami, mademoiselle. All right. Asid says, hi, my name is Asid. I'm an IT guy working in the oil industry. I'm crypto curious. That's good. After watching the crypto space from a safe distance for the past year or so, I've decided to open this can of worms and see where it leads me. So far, I see that I have a lot to learn. And the best way to learn, especially for me, is by doing. I'm looking forward to this crypto journey. Welcome, Asid. Great to have you here. Then we have Cryptomatic. Hi, my name is Josh, an architect from the United Kingdom. I watched from the sidelines for several years since the last bull market, but this time I want to learn as much as possible in preparation for the long term. I am really enjoying reading many of the comments and looking forward to understanding what it takes to get to the moon and beyond. I love it. I love it. Okay, all right. Okay, so quick. Okay, yeah, minting code is 687921. Okay, so so people still have questions about this. Okay, so let me just answer some of these questions. Just give us 1 second, Bill. Okay, so Lily says, Ian, as a black man, are you afraid of the police? I mean, honestly, yes. I mean, I think almost anybody who's black in America, you definitely are raised to be afraid of the police, right? I mean, like for example, let's say if the police pulls me over, I mean, I know not to escalate things, right? Like, I will be the politest person ever when I get pulled up. I mean, I have been pulled over by the police, and I'm always polite, always respectful. But I also do understand people who, I mean, because everyone is different, right? People have been raised differently. I mean, me myself, I mean, as a kid, my parents always told me, "Hey, like, don't get in trouble," like because we know that that's a risk, right? Just by being black in America, we know that. Hey, I mean, like for example, now we're kind of really getting more deep into things. I haven't really shared much, right? But I feel like the way the climate is, these are things that kind of have to now be discussed, right? Because you guys know I always keep things very honest and transparent with you, right? Like, I mean, there are times when I go into a store, right, and I get followed around because I look like somebody who's not really meant to be there, if that makes sense, right? Or there are times where just by walking next to somebody, like typically a female, they'll just clutch their purse, right? So things like that also do happen to me, right? So I'm definitely not like immune to them per se, right? So things like that definitely do happen to me, and it's definitely something that's not one of the more positive things of being black in America, right? It's I guess it's something in a way I've kind of just always brushed aside as just kind of, hey, you know, that's just some crazy person or whatever, right? But I mean, those things definitely do happen to me, and I think as a result, because I know of some people's either prejudices or where they were raised or whatever, right? So for example, the story that happened with Amy Cooper, right? The female who was walking her dog, and a black man basically told her to put the dog on a leash, and she basically called the police and said basically a bunch of lies, right? But because everything was filmed on camera, the whole world kind of saw what happened, right? I mean, so situations like that, like my family has always told me to always be cautious of things like that, right? Obviously, we now live in a time and age where things are kind of different. I feel like having smartphone cameras and Twitter and social media has changed everything, which in a way is kind of good because now more justice can be done, right? But quite frankly, in a way, it does cause people like me in a way to kind of be paranoid when out and about in society, right? To kind of have our guards up because we know anything we do or say may be misinterpreted, right? So because of things like that, in a way, we definitely do walk on eggshells sometimes, right? So, and I have lots of stories myself, but I don't really want to get too much off topic, but because you brought that up, right? So when it comes to dealing with police, with law enforcement, I think really you can't escalate things, right? Because of that, right? Kind of having all that context, you cannot really escalate things. You have to almost be on your P's and Q's and be super polite, because you know that one simple slip up, and I mean, for example, like I know, like if I get pulled over and I do something, like one thing I know is I won't talk back to the police. Even if I believe they're wrong, I will not talk back to it, because especially if it's late at night, because who knows, something could just trigger something, and next thing you know, you're getting shot, right? So I mean, quite frankly speaking, that is something I myself also do think about, right? But the way I resolve it is by trying not to escalate, right? One thing, I mean, obviously I can't speak for every Black person out there, but I think one of the issues I do see is people, like, let's say somebody's getting arrested, like let's say a Black man is getting arrested. I would not talk back or try to escalate anything with the police, even if they're wrong. I mean, obviously that's what lawyers are for, but obviously not everybody who's poor or disenfranchised has access to good lawyers. So I think that's part where the system is broken, right? So because if you're getting assigned a lawyer by the court that's working like 1,000 other people and only has like 10 minutes for you, you obviously won't get the best representation, right? So I think one better way forward is really maybe helping give better pro bono legal support or guidance to people who are being improperly arrested or what have you, right? But to answer your question, yes, I mean, I myself also do feel scared, but that's, I guess in a way, that's why maybe I'm a homebody. I mean, I don't know, right? But all I know is whenever I see the police, I zip my mouth. I don't talk back. I say yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Right? I mean, I would say this is really more, and I think something actually. I read a book about spies. I think I forget which book it was. I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but basically it said that when you're in a dangerous situation, you don't escalate it, right? You try to de-escalate it, right? And I think by raising your voice, by speaking up, by trying to use force, all this causes things to escalate even more. Now, obviously, I don't know what happened to George Floyd per se, right? But whatever happened to him was definitely wrong, right? But I think, yeah, I mean, things are definitely insane, and as you all can see, it does kind of leave me speechless, right? Because there's so many different things going on, and it's kind of tough to kind of talk about everything. All right, anything to add to that, Bill?
Sure. So I can't necessarily relate to the bevy of stories that you have, although talking back to the police, especially in Texas, is not a good idea, regardless of your race. That I can tell you. Okay, so as a middle-aged Caucasian man, and with the president of the United States, a middle-aged Caucasian man, people like me can be pretty popular with the protesters. Like, they could see me. This has occurred to me. Like, they see me, just a middle-aged Caucasian man, and I'm sort of like the new bad guy. Crypto world, I'm the good guy, but on the street, I could be deemed the new bad guy. So I'm getting a taste of, the types of things that, you and other people have gone through, and, it doesn't feel good. Right. And I'm sure people, when they want to throw a brick through a window, if that's gone on their whole life and now they don't have a job, maybe the brick goes through a window, maybe the brick gets thrown at somebody else. So I can understand and empathize with people boiling over here, is my point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing you bring up, right? People who don't have jobs. I mean, I think if we fix the economy, most of these issues will go away, right? I feel like all this is really bubbling up because people don't feel like there's a way out, right? And I think if you give people hope of a way out, then most of these issues will be resolved. Obviously, not everything, but a lot of these issues will be resolved, right? Then a primary source says there are plenty of instances on video where the cops escalate the situation themselves to get the outcome they want. Yes, I mean that's totally true, right? That's totally true. But I mean, at that point, there isn't really much you can do, unfortunately. I mean, I hate to say it, but there isn't really much you can do, right? I think the best example was I saw there was a reporter who got arrested live on camera. I think it was on a bunch of different news sites, and I think the way he reacted, where he just kind of was polite and just had the police arrest him. They took him obviously to jail, whatever. Then I think the next day he was let go. I think honestly that's the best thing you can do to kind of respond. I don't think escalating things further, even if you're right, is the way forward, right? Especially in situations like that. Okay, somebody's saying that we should go to the protest and hold a buy Bitcoin. F the Fed sign. Okay.
I think that's a great idea. I think that guy was like, that sign I said that, can you print my dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a comment from To the Moon Crypto. They're saying, sorry, Bill. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Stay safe out there, Bill. We definitely need you.
Thank you.
I mean, I think crypto family here is strong. No matter what race you are, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, whatever. I mean, we all have crypto family here, and I think that's what brings us together, because we all come from different walks of life. Yet we're here doing a global show, not just an American show, a global show. But obviously, things are happening, right? Okay. With that being said, let's get back to crypto. Okay. All right. So people are saying the Menti code is not working. It should be working. Okay. Let me take a look. Once again, Menti code is 687921. That's 687921. Okay, let me try to find crypto questions. The anonymous are killing it. Goodbye, Trump. Okay, that's not really a question. Okay, so this person is asking, have you heard about the Cantillon effect? How do you see it playing for the crypto space? I don't know what this is. Have you heard of this, Bill? The Cantillon effect?
No, I have not.
Okay, let me do a quick Google search for this and see what it says. Okay, so it says the Cantillon effect refers to the change in relative prices resulting from a change in money supply. The change in relative prices occurs because the change in money supply has a specific injection point and therefore a specific flow path through the economy. Okay, I mean, this sounds like supply and demand to me. I mean, anything?
All right. Well, I mean, I'm not an expert on this. I think when they flood the system with money, when the Fed does that, they're pumping high-powered money into the system. That's how come you can have a levitation in stocks when it looks like the world's falling apart. Okay. Now, in economic theory, when you pump a lot of high-powered money into the system, the theory books will say that, you'll have too much money chasing too few goods. That's why a box of 60 eggs went from $6 to $12, or things at Costco were, $10 and now they're $15, right? Because they put a lot of money in the system. All right. So continuing to do that, yes, it does help people somewhat, but it increases inequality and it can actually create inflation, which is something that we haven't talked about in certain areas, right? And the inflation that's happening, it's not happening in Manhattan rents that hurt the top 1%. It's hurting people who got to buy 60 eggs to feed a family, right? So, high-powered money supply, and the Fed, we sort of made a joke out of it on the show, but this person is actually pointing in the right direction, right? How much money's going in the system and how it's impacting prices matters.
All right. Well said, Bill. Okay, so let's go to the next question here. Okay, question is, what's Bitcoin's future? Okay, I mean, I feel like we've answered this question a lot, but I'll say this. I'll say the future is definitely bright for Bitcoin. We're pro Bitcoin. We think right now Bitcoin is the best cryptocurrency anybody can hold. So the future is bright now and long term. However, long term, we're even more bullish on the future of Ethereum. We feel like Ethereum will eventually flip and surpass Bitcoin in market cap, despite what the Bitcoin maximalists believe, because so much is being developed and being built on Ethereum that you can't just ignore this because Bitcoin came first. So future of Bitcoin is great, but I think the future of Ethereum is even greater. But that's not to detract from anything Bitcoin is doing. Anything to add to that, Bill?
Yes. So Bitcoin has now got a new purpose. Okay. Bitcoin is now a form of protest. Okay. You see all this that's going on the news. You see how governments are responding, and you wake up one day and Bitcoin's at 13,000. All of a sudden, the guys with the suits or the guys who are hurting other people, the oppressors, you call them whatever you want. They're like, hey, Bitcoin's at 13,000. People are voting with their feet. So Bitcoin is not only now a store of wealth, an alternative currency, all the things that we've said about Bitcoin over and over. Now it's got a new role. It's a protest meter. Okay. So you can have disaster porn on the internet and social media. Okay. But the protest meter is Bitcoin.
Okay. All right. Well said. Actually, so King Nick just corrected me. So I think this person is actually saying, what's a Bitcoin future contract? They just didn't put the word contract in there. Okay. I mean, future contracts are really kind of outside my wheelhouse, but basically somebody's, okay, I guess maybe Bill, do you want to cover this?
Let me help you out here. So instead of actually owning something, right, just buying and holding it, a futures contract is simply called a derivative. What does that mean? That means it'll follow the actual instrument like Bitcoin. It'll go up and down, except it allows you to like put a deposit down and sort of make bets as to whether it'll go up or down. Okay. And they have a variety of uses, but they allow you to trade from both the long side and the short side. And they also allow you to use leverage, which can be a quick way to lose the rent money. Okay. Mm-hmm. But in crypto, futures can provide you with a way to quickly move in and out without necessarily having to like buy Bitcoin, put it in a cold wallet or a hot wallet. It can allow you to move back and forth and take advantage of price swings without actually owning it.
Yeah. Now to add on to that, so the Bitcoin futures are also physically the physical contracts, meaning that once the contract expires, they're physically sent, obviously, I think through either wallet or whatever, and the person actually owns them. So futures contracts come from, I would say best example is probably farming, right? Farmers who wanted to be able to predict with a degree of certainty how much money they'll be making and what their costs will be. They'll basically sell futures contracts saying that, okay, this person has to buy, let's say it's a contract for cows, right? This person 6 months from now will buy X amount of cows at this price. Basically, it's a contract for the future that locks in the price. So obviously, if the price swings, regardless of the swing, the farmer can lock in that particular price, right? So if the price goes up or goes down, they have that benefit. And then I would say the difference between a futures contract and an options contract is a futures contract, you actually have to physically receive the items, right? And I think that's what also makes it kind of more cumbersome, right, Bill?
Right. Especially in things like agriculture and commodities, like taking delivery, right? That's a whole separate area of futures, but you're right. It does allow people to lock in a price, of where am I going to sell my oil or where am I going to buy my oil for airlines and things like that. So it allows you to make decisions about prices farther out in the future, right? Rather than just where is the price today.
Right. And I think the best example you brought up is oil, because why oil went negative? Because it was a futures contract. So as opposed to options, where options you have the option but not the obligation to receive once it expires. With futures, you have to receive it. And during the pandemic, when everything was locked down, it was more expensive to receive the barrels of oil so that's why people were willing to pay to have somebody else receive the oil. All right. So thank you for that, Bill. Let's go on to the next question. Okay. How much more time do we have with you, Bill? I know we're kind of...
I'm good.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay, good. All right, great. All right, so once again, if you have any questions, just go to menti.com, menti.com, and use the code 687921. Okay. Let me see here. Let me try to find some crypto questions. Okay. All these are political questions. I'm trying to. Okay, I think we found non-crypto question, but still kind of maybe makes sense. Does the looting prove that bartering gold is not the best idea in the world? Okay, let me see if I can get my head around this question.
Actually, this is a great question.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so a lot of people think, and I don't necessarily disagree, that gold and silver are going to go up a lot, and that holding like 1 ounce gold and silver coins, which are just gone now, is a great investment, and that's not untrue. I'm okay with that. However, in a world where you might be afraid to go outside, I'm not sure how, like, let's call them the metals maximalists. I'm not sure how these guys think that you're going to take your box of silver coins down to the store and pay for them in a world where bad guys and pirates are out there, right? Where 911's not answering. I mean, you better have some accessories for your silver coins if you're actually going to go out shopping with them. Okay, so yes, I think precious metals are an investment, and I think just the overwhelming, compelling case for crypto, okay, is that yes, it's an investment. Yes, it's a protest, and yes, you can use it to pay for things. Okay, yeah, maybe the infrastructure is not set up at retailers for it, but if retailers got to bring customers in, and brought this up before, it's like they're going to need a new gimmick, right? They're going to need something. Pay with Bitcoin. Pay with Bitcoin online.
Yeah, I mean, well said. Yeah, because for me, I didn't really quite understand the question, but now kind of seeing it from your perspective.
Because somebody just handed me a note that the giant Galleria Mall in Houston is closed. And I'm just thinking that yesterday, before it was closed, you weren't going shopping there with silver coins. You just weren't.
Yeah. I mean, so if we're in a world where people are looting, I mean, what's the best currency? Crypto? Or
well, I think the best currencies are probably other than the US dollar, right? Because I think if you're in the third world, the US dollar still carries weight. I don't know. I was thinking Swiss franc, Ethereum, and Bitcoin.
All right. Well said, Bill, as usual. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next question here. Okay. Next question. What are the facts that make Bitcoin a commodity? What are the facts that make Ethereum a commodity? Hard facts this person is asking for. Well, I mean, I would say the hard facts would be that the Commodities and Futures Commission, I believe is the full name, CFTC,
Right, CFTC.
Trade Commission, Commodities and Futures Trade Commission, called them commodities. I would say that's probably the only fact you need. But anything to add to that, Bill?
Right. I mean, I was going to say the government said so. Okay. Okay. And then I think there's also the idea that, I think Ethereum is more considered like a combination of a tech stock and money. I think Bitcoin could be considered a commodity because it has that store of value reputation, right? Like other commodities are a store of value, right? Oil, gold, silver, platinum. So that's how I would answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the best way to really cover that. I've tried to see if I can pull up any of the articles from the CFTC going into their logic as to why they have them as commodities. Let me see. Okay, so I've pulled up this. This comes from the CFTC.gov called Bitcoin Basics. So this says, is Bitcoin a commodity? Yes, virtual currencies such as Bitcoin have been determined to be commodities under the Commodity Exchange Act. Okay, so it seems like that's the... Let me see if we can get any more info on that. Commodities and Exchange Act.
Maybe they did that so it's perhaps easier to have made a futures contract out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, sorry, just give me 1 second here. I'm doing this research on the fly. Okay, so this comes from October 2018. So federal court finds that virtual currencies are commodities. So this is the summary they gave. No bullet points. Looks like we have to read it. Okay, so according to the court, the term commodity includes a host of specifically enumerated agricultural products as well as other goods and articles, and all services, rights, and interests. Okay. Sorry. Actually, this is for a different virtual currency, not Bitcoin. This is for something called Bigcoin. Okay, let's see if we can pull up this article here from Harvard that goes into... Yeah, anyway, I mean, yeah, this is going to take a lot longer than we anticipate. But basically, I mean, the fact is the government, the CFTC says it's a commodity. So I would just go look up the arguments that they have as to why they call it a commodity. Sorry, we couldn't really answer this too in depth. All right, let's go on back to the AMA. Okay, we're getting lots of questions. Okay, is the 40 million unemployed number a big concern? Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely is a big concern. Bill, any comments on that?
Oh, it's absolutely epic. Okay. I mean, here's a couple reasons why it's epic. First of all, what happens if companies with higher paying jobs all of a sudden go, we're doing business just fine. I don't think we ever needed all these people. Yeah. So those jobs could disappear and they may not come back. Okay. Yeah. So, that has a huge impact. I think for the smaller guy, okay, as we've noted, the frustration and it's just the confusion. Like, what do you do now? Right? What do you do? Like, how do you go out and get a job when there aren't any? Right? And this is like a flash in the pan thing, right? It's back to like the 30s. People don't know what to do. Right. And when they don't know what to do for a long enough period of time, like anybody in markets who's been around will tell you that uncertainty is the worst thing for markets. And it's the worst things for human beings in a capitalist society. It's toxic. So the level of uncertainty is what is unnerving people. And that's what 40 million people out of work all at once does.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So, because I think all of the social unrest we're going through, I don't think it would be happening if unemployment was back down to less than 3% or 2%, right? Because right now unemployment is, I believe, over 15% or so, right? So
Right.
because,
They say it's going to 25. That's the talk.
yeah. So I feel like all the social unrest is coming because of that, right? So people basically feel like they have no career perspective, prospects. Maybe the employer said, you know what, like as Bill said, why do we need this many people working, right? Especially if the economy is going to take a while to recover, and that was before people were burning things down. I mean, so now that all this is happening, it's going to take even longer because now every country, I mean, every part of America now is being affected by this looting. It's going to take even longer for America to really reopen, and now it's going to be even more intimidating for people to travel to America when all this is happening. Because same thing happened with Hong Kong. When Hong Kong had their protests, they entered their first recession in over 10 years. So, and we all expected for America to enter a recession because of the pandemic. But then it looked like things were kind of bouncing and we're going to have maybe possibly a V-shaped recovery. But now you add all the social unrest on top of this, it's going to take a long time to really bounce back. So, I mean, I think the unemployment number is definitely a huge concern. But all in all, I think that a bigger concern, at least for me, is the economy. I mean, because everything that's happening now is going to get worse before it gets better. Like, I don't really see how all this can just like that change overnight. I mean, maybe it can. I mean, who knows? Maybe somebody has some magic somewhere, but I don't really think it's going to just change overnight. It's definitely going to take some time. Okay. All right. So let's try to find crypto questions. Okay, somebody has a question for Bill about Firm Network and HNT. Firm is FRM. Are you able to pull that up? I don't think they will be on TradingView because they're not on any of the big exchanges. But maybe Bill can try to take a look.
Is it Firm?
FRM. Firm. The full name is FERRUM. Firm Network, but I don't think it's going to be on TradingView.
No, I'm not seeing it on TradingView.
Yeah, so we'll have to skip that one, unfortunately. Let me see if we have anything else. Okay. Okay, so somebody's sending a tweet from about stock to flow. Let me just quickly pull this up here. Just give me 1 second. Have you used the stock to flow model by any chance, Bill, or have you been following it?
I've heard of it. I'm not an expert in it.
Okay, yeah, neither am I. Okay, but we'll try to just talk about it because that's what we do. Okay, all right. So this person says, so stock to flow has its first red dot on the chart. Bull run start anytime soon from now. So this comes from Plan B on Twitter, who's I believe the inventor of Bitcoin stock to flow model, which shows basically the scarcity of Bitcoin. So this is the chart here. I see it comes from it starts from 2010, goes all the way till 2021. And it shows here right now in middle of basically today, in May 2020, there's a red dot. So red dot released. What does this mean? Is this when Bitcoin crosses? So basically it looks like he's doing kind of like momentum trading or charting on stock to flow versus Bitcoin USD price.
Right. I mean, the way I look at it, which may or may not be correct, like I look at this as a way of sort of predicting the price, kind of like what we have or you have on Token Metrics, where it's, we have a method for predicting price. And I think what this person may be alluding to is that the stock to flow model is indicating that there's an inflection point where Bitcoin should start to rise based on its scarcity. Okay. Or based on how this model predicts how it should behave when it becomes scarce, if that makes sense. So we're preaching to the choir in the sense that, it's a good alternative currency. It's a good store of value. It's scarce. And now it's a protest. So if Bitcoin and crypto can survive whatever stock market reaction we have to all this, it adds stock to flow, I think, is a quantitative measure that adds to the qualitative case.
Yeah. Okay. Well said, Bill. Okay, let's check in with the audience and see how we're doing here. Okay. Ian, what are the highest staking percentages for ETH 2.0? I believe Ethereum 2.0 staking is going to be, you have to have 32 Ether. I think it's going to be around 6 or 7%. I believe is the initial annual rate. But don't quote me on that. Can you explain the burning process of ETH tokens on ETH 2.0? Okay, I'll have to go look into that. Now we did, if you are a customer, we did put out a report on ETH 2.0 earlier in the week. That should be in the archives, which you can view by just going to any of the emails we sent at the end. At the bottom in the footer, there should be a link to the archives. Okay, let's see here. John on Facebook says, we never rebalanced from 2008. Basic income for all is coming. So I think it's talking about UBI, Universal Basic Income.
Right. This is actually a great point. So from 2008, the recovery was in asset values. That's where that whole top 1%. So if you own real estate or stocks, you did fantastic. But everybody else's compensation, job opportunities, a lot of the job opportunities were on the tech side, right? So if you were not on the tech side or not into real estate or not into stocks, were you better off than you were in 2008 before this happened? This person is telling the truth, this is correct. I agree. The answer was probably not much better off. And now you're way worse off. So, all it has to happen is you have one brick going through a window and then, it becomes serious.
Yeah. It's actually, not to joke about this, but I just can't. I'm sorry. So a few months back, the joke was one guy eating a bat caused a global depression. Well, now the joke could be one guy throwing a brick in a window could cause the next global depression. But I mean, basically, wherever you are, stay safe, and hopefully you don't cause the next global depression. Okay, all right. I'm seeing lots of questions about projects I've not heard of, so unfortunately we can't really cover those. Is Matic necessary? Okay, So is Matic still necessary when ETH 2.0 arrives? Doesn't it become superfluous? So we have covered this a while back. From our research, Matic claims that they'll still be needed, right? But I think at the end of the day, nobody really knows until ETH 2.0 launches. That's the first thing, because they were supposed to launch end of Q2 or so, but now it looks like Vitalik has said he didn't really get the question, but it looks like it's going to be more now towards end of Q3. So in typical Ethereum fashion, they're pushing back the launch as usual. But I mean, I think having both is not really a bad thing. I think having both is a hedge, because what if ETH 2.0 launches and is a big flop? then having some Matic was a good bet. But Matic is really trying to create their own niche by going after blockchain developers who have a use case for apps that can scale. So I think the two can still coexist, because maybe one does scaling for games and dApps better than Ethereum. But I think at the end of the day, we can't really know. And I think having both is still a good hedge. Bill, anything to add to that from a TA perspective, or just thoughts?
Well, yeah, I actually was prepared to talk Matic because it did jump up. Okay. So Matic hit an important resistance point almost to the number. Okay. And then started coming back off. So, this is just the chart point. I just looked at this and I was like, this looks like the people who got caught in this decline here were headed for the door on a big rally. So the pain from last year's drop is still being felt, and people use the rally to get out.
All right. Thank you for that, Bill. Okay, next question here. Ian, a lot of these people can't get to invest into crypto because they can barely eat and pay bills. How can we get the average person involved and interested before it's too late? Great question. Great question. Whoever asked that, thank you for that question. So this is a question I also do think of myself. And I think all I can do is really just share my story. So I think before anybody can even have disposable income, keyword being disposable, because when you invest, you're only investing what you're willing to lose, right? So that's why we call it disposable income. You have to have money that you can basically burn on fire. Apologies for the bad pun, but basically money, you have no issues with being burned on fire to invest, right? Because if you're investing rent money, house money, grocery money, that's something we would not recommend ever. So the question now is really, how does one get disposable income? And I think before you even have money to invest, you have to make money. And I think the best way to make money is just through, you have to really create new ventures. So for me, for example, I was working a day job, 9 to 5 at IBM, but I also I learned a new skill. The skill I learned was filming. I began creating videos. I bought a camera online, but let's say you have no money at all. I would say learn a skill. You can learn a skill by reading a book, right? Knowledge. So for example, there's so many skills you can learn through books. So whether it's web design, graphic design, writing, just develop a skill. And the best way to do that is by doing it for free, and then as you build that skill, then eventually people will be willing to pay you for that skill. So the skill I built was I learned how to first film video for free. So I'll go to different events and just do videos. Then a friend asked me to create videos for them, right? So I began doing videos. So actually, a friend who had a fashion show had me go and film their fashion show in DC. Did that for free. I mean, to them, it was a good service. I mean, to me, it was really a time to just learn how to film for somebody else beside myself. Then began doing more events like that over the course of 6 to 9 months. And I got decent enough where people were willing to pay me to do it. Now, obviously, I was no Martin Scorsese by any means, but people were willing to pay me at a budget rate to film. Then fast forward, probably half a year later, or maybe almost 2 years into it, I was now very proficient to a point where in 1 month, I made more money filming over 2 weekends, basically about, I would say 3 or 4 days, than I did at my job at IBM. And I didn't get there without kind of learning a skill and working my way up. And I kind of broke into the filming industry here in the DC region back then. This was, oh man, like I'll say maybe 2013, 14, 15 or so, to a point where I became the official videographer for Miss DC. And I did that by just by willing to film her fashion shows and events for free. And then once I did that, I then had this resume, because with her, she got me into events like the Washington Redskins parties, the fundraiser for charity. I had interviews with, back then, RG3, with John Wall, and I basically used her clout to build my portfolio, because I was just making video for free, which then I could parlay to then saying, here, I've worked with this, I guess, this clientele, and I began getting jobs based off of that, because like, oh, this guy's filming there's big companies, there's big names, but let's say you have a different skill. When I was back in high school, my first ever job was creating websites, and that was a skill I learned by just going to the library, reading a book. I taught myself HTML, some programming. My first job was from my uncle. Actually, unfortunately, I do have some sad news. My uncle did pass away this week, unfortunately, but he was very inspirational to me, because he was also an entrepreneur. He has some local schools here, basically some Montessori schools for like basically preschool schools, and he made his money through education. But anyway, long story short is my first ever job was building websites for his schools, and he basically paid me for that. And that was something I learned myself just when I was still in high school, and then eventually college, by going to the library, getting a bunch of books from, back then it was Macromedia Dreamweaver, Microsoft Front Page. So I would say, if you don't have money, the best way out, at least for me and my family, has always been through education. So learn a skill that's in demand. And sometimes, yes, it will take hard work. It will take 1 year, 2 years, maybe even longer. Develop that skill and be willing to do that skill for free, just to learn and to also build up your portfolio. And then eventually you'll reach a point where you can parlay that into real work. So that's kind of my take on that. Bill, do you have any tips?
Yes. So for crypto, when, my legacy finance buddies called me up and said, Bill, you got to take a look at Bitcoin. We're dying to hear what you think about it. I'm like, well, gee, I don't know how to think about it. So I started drawing it by hand. And then I think I downloaded the CoinDesk app on my phone, and I just started watching it every day. Right. So, Ian took a more direct path by going to a library. I did buy some crypto books, but I just watched it every day and I studied it. Right. I studied the price action. Like, gee, look, something happened in stocks and Bitcoin went up or down. Right. And I started to put two and two together. In other words, if you can look at the price of crypto and have some idea as to why it moved, okay, you now have a skill. You now understand what's happening. You have to understand what's happening now, or at least have a general idea before you can say what's going to happen in the future. And then once you've picked that up, maybe you've got, $200 for some ether, right?
Yeah. So, sorry, just seeing a text here. Washington, D.C. imposes curfew for 11 p.m. Okay. But kind of go back to the person's question again. So to kind of add more to it. Not to really kind of delve back into the whole politics or capitalism stuff, but I think in any market, any society, people with skills get rewarded, right? And I think this is really one way to break inequality, because regardless of who you are, your background is, at the end of the day, for example, if you're the only black guy who can do X, Y, and Z, and this business needs that to survive, they'll pay you. They'll pay you. They'll tell you to write your own ticket, right? So I think learning skills that are in demand is the best way to kind of break through any system or just make money in general, right? So for example, like with Token Metrics, the stuff we're doing here, I mean, this was something we had to learn, all of us, right? Bill has his own skill. I have my own skills. Like for example, Token Metrics, like the data science, the machine learning, putting together the team, the analysis, all this was, I mean, I didn't go to school for investing. This was something I learned myself in my own time. And yes, there is a sacrifice. And I think that's something people don't really understand is you have to be willing to sacrifice those vacations, those weekends. I mean, because if some people saw like how boring my weekends are, I mean, you would have no idea. I mean, like my weekends, my weekends consist of me either working or learning something new. Weekends are basically days for me to learn new skills. Like for example, right now I'm basically learning how to hack. I'm basically doing ethical hacking. I mean, because as somebody who's been hacked myself, and also as somebody who's building an application and knows crypto and everything, security is crucial. I mean, one skill I've been wanting to learn is just to just understand the mind of a hacker, right? So learning how to become an ethical hacker, to me, just made perfect sense. And then I'm just watching lectures and lectures. I watched lectures like about a month ago. I watched almost over 50 hours worth of lectures on my favorite philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. Then I've watched a bunch of lectures on other stuff, right? So I would say just learning, education is really the way forward. So if you don't, I mean, not to sound harsh, and apologies in advance if I do sound to anybody out there, but people who are maybe having some challenges when it comes to I would say just earning income in general. I mean, yes, there's definitely oppression, and there are people who are in a bad position, right, where things are unfair. But I would say, all in all, I mean, if you put in the time to learn a new skill that is in demand, you will get rewarded, right? Whether it's you learn to become a data scientist, or you learn to become a programmer, or an artist, or whatever, just find something you like or you're curious about and put in the time. If you put in the time and it's something the market needs, you will be rewarded. All right, that's my take on it. Tell us what you think in the comments down below. All right, Bill, how are we doing on time with you?
Oh, I'm still good.
Still good? Okay, all right. Awesome. We have Bill for a while. I like it. Okay, all right. A good question. Whoever asked that. Thank you to the Moon Crypto. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see here. Trying to go through the political questions and find the. Okay, so here's a question. This is maybe for Bill. Okay, so he's basically asking, can you explain what is a deflationary system? So I believe he's talking in terms of currencies and fiat currencies. You want to go ahead, Bill?
Okay, so deflation in economics and deflation in crypto, they have different meanings. I'm really more attuned with what deflation means in regular economics. Okay, so deflation comes when people put their money under the mattress, right? Like the US savings rate has actually gone up to 33% from like 0. Okay, and then the prices of certain goods, like fresh agricultural goods, like if you want an ear of corn or a tomato or a watermelon, those prices are going to go negative. So it's a continuous drop in prices, or the overall price level. All right. Now, these things can be deadly, right? It's what happened to Japan, where people just would not spend money. The overall price level would not go up no matter how much money they printed. So inflation is obviously bad, but deflation can also be just awful, right? Because it hurts job creation, GDP growth. If everybody expects prices to be lower in the future, what's the incentive to buy it now?
Yeah, true. So I've pulled up some pictures here from, this is Investopedia. Investopedia, by the way, is a great reference for all things investing, right? So basically they say deflation, as Bill said, a period of declining prices for goods and services, right? So prices are basically going down, and this shows money supply goes down, government spending goes down, consumer demand goes down, business and investing goes down. So overall demand is going down, and there's a depression almost. Then I found this other picture here, which says causes of deflation. So here, if we have falling demand, right? So there's a global recession, fiscal austerity, declining confidence, falling in money supply goes down. Okay, then we have lower costs of production. So lower oil prices, improved technology, improved appreciation in terms of falling input prices. Obviously, this is definitely outside of my wheelhouse. I'm definitely no economist, but pretty much what Bill said. I mean, now if we kind of look at it on the other perspective, as you said, deflation in crypto is different, right? So, for example, Bitcoin is called a deflationary cryptocurrency. What does that mean? It means that Bitcoin gets scarcer and scarcer, and the value goes up. The price per Bitcoin goes up. Why is that? Because Bitcoin has a fixed price. I mean, a fixed amount, a finite amount. There are only 21 million Bitcoins ever, and the amount of Bitcoin that can be mined gets cut in half every 4 years, right? That's why we have the Bitcoin halving. So let me see if I can pull up the chart here. Just give me 1 second. So meaning that eventually all the Bitcoins available will have been mined and there'll be no more Bitcoin. So meaning that the supply will stop being printed, and now while demand will keep on increasing. So as a result, Bitcoin will get more and more expensive. That's kind of in crypto what the term deflationary cryptocurrency is. So the same thing applies to any cryptocurrency. So when we say a cryptocurrency is deflationary, we're basically saying that it has a fixed amount, it's finite, so it has a maximum supply, and that supply will never keep on increasing. Now, one thing to differentiate in crypto is we also have inflationary and reducing inflationary cryptocurrencies. So for example, Ethereum, best example is EOS. That's a inflationary cryptocurrency because EOS puts out, I think, about 4.5%, maybe 5% annually of new tokens, of new EOS tokens. So every year, at a fixed inflation rate, they keep on printing or minting new tokens. Then Ethereum is somewhere in the middle. Ethereum is what we call reducing inflationary. So Ethereum has no maximum supply, kind of like EOS. However, the inflation rate is reducing. So meaning that at a particular period in time, the amount of new Ether being created reduces. So maybe early on it was maybe 20% annually, and then maybe 4 years, a year later is 15%, and a year later it's 10%. So basically, Ethereum approaches zero over time, but never quite hits zero. So meaning it's basically, I think the term is an asymptote line, right? So it gets closer and closer to zero, but will never quite hit zero inflation like Bitcoin. So it all is confusing because for me, I understand more the crypto perspective, but which is confusing because it's not really the same as regular economics. All right, anything to add to that, Bill?
No, I think you covered it.
All right. Okay, thank you all for the comments and support. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. This was definitely a unusual political show. Definitely not what we typically expect, but we felt that it was hard to not say anything during these times. Okay, let's go back to the AMA. Okay, trying to find more crypto questions. Have we heard of Nervous? Yes, Nervous Network. We are currently researching that, so stay tuned. We probably will be putting the report, I would say probably sometime next month. Okay, Neo broke out like you said last week, but so did so many other alts like ADA, which was not on Token Metrics. Yeah, I mean, so many alts did break out. Obviously, we can't catch them all, but the idea is we try to catch as many as we can, right? So I think that was definitely good. Okay, let me go through here. Okay, I think we may have come to the end of most of the questions, crypto questions. Yeah, because now people are just asking about the particular coins. Let me just find one if I can here. Okay, so this is probably the last crypto question we have. Okay, I have $10,000 ready. Do you think it's a good time to enter the market now? My goal is 3 to 6 to 12 months. Okay, that's a pretty wide goal. I guess he's basically saying his time horizon. I feel like it's a pumped market for the time being. Okay, so let me just kind of, I guess, add some constraint to that question and reframe it. So basically you're saying you have $10,000 ready to invest. You're asking if it's a good time to enter the market. Your time horizon is 3 to 12 months. So because of that, I would say you're not really a value investor. You're basically a speculator or trader. So as a result, you have to have that mindset of trading. So basically the question is, you have $10,000 to trade. Is now a good time to enter the market? Bill, what's your take in terms of entering the market right now?
All right. So I'll break this down into two parts. So if you have $10,000 and you have a 12-month time horizon, let me tell you, there is nothing better to laser focus your mind on how crypto moves than to actually have a position in it versus just sitting around and watching it. So of the $10,000, you could say, all right, I'm going to take 2,000 and I'm just going to split it between, say, I don't know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and your favorite alt. And I'm just going to watch it, right? It's not going to go to zero, or we hope not, right? If you stick with the big coins and just watch it, right? And if you start to get profit on your 2,000, then you can say, all right, maybe I can add a little more. Or if price dips to a level where you like it, you can also add a little more. Okay. So you don't have to jump all the way in all at once, right? That's what everyone thinks. I have $10,000. I got to invest it now because I have this goal in 12 months. Okay. But put it in one piece at a time, because you might be able to accumulate. You know, who knows? We might see 200 Ether again. We might. I don't think so unless stocks blow up, but that's not the point. The point is you can make decisions and learn while still being in the game and having a core holding so that if it does moon, you're there for that.
Yeah, I mean, well said as usual. I would add to that. I mean, if you have $10,000, you definitely should invest in your cryptocurrency research. So that's why we have Token Metrics over here. Go to tokenmetrics.com and sign up, because research is crucial in times like this. So, I mean, because we've made the platform easy to help you determine when is a good time to enter, because we have automated technical analysis that tells you, okay, are we bullish on Bitcoin? Are we bearish on Bitcoin? Or same thing can be applied to over 100 different cryptocurrencies. And we also have price predictions. Obviously, they aren't perfect. Nothing is perfect, but used as tools together, they can tell you where the trend is going. So I would definitely recommend joining Token Metrics if you haven't yet already. We have weekly newsletters. Bill doing TA with us, sharing his technical analysis on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and on altcoins. Also in the professional group, we have bi-weekly private calls where Bill does TA. Basically, it's basically a private coaching group in a way, right? You have Bill, you have me, you have our team. We share different projects we're researching. I have people who also provide different projects they want us to research and look into. For example, one person in our private group wanted us to research Kyber network for her, and we did. So, I mean, it's really having some of the best minds in crypto together in one group. And if you have money to invest or trade in crypto and you're serious about it, it doesn't definitely make sense to invest in research, whether us or just even other platforms out there, right? Because as Bill said, I mean, you definitely don't want to be on the sidelines, and if you right, but you also want to make sure you know what you're getting into, and you're getting into the best projects out there. All right. That being said, thank you for that question. Feel free to share any other thoughts or comments down below. Okay. All right. Well, Bill, I think that's pretty much it for the crypto questions. It was a pleasure having you on. Any last words out there?
Sir, I just want to tell you, I always appreciate being on your show, no matter what the topic is. All right.
Yeah.
Stay strong and stay safe. And thank you, crypto family, for tuning in with us.
All right. Yeah. Likewise, Bill. Likewise. Always a pleasure having you on. Stay safe out there. I don't think we'll be too worried about you going out past curfew.
No.
But yeah, stay safe and talk to you next week.
All right, sir.
you,
Take
Bill.
care.
Alrighty.
We just landed on the moon in the Lambo. Taking pictures with the zoom.
Oh man. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, crazy times we're in. Crazy times. But hey, I'm here with you. Crypto family, unite. No matter where you are, what creed you are, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever race, man, woman, we're all crypto family. We all believe. We all believe in going to the moon and beyond. And that is what unites us. That mullah unites us. All right, so I know there are definitely lots of questions that have been sent in through the AMA. I mean, I don't think I can get through all of them. Most of them don't really have much to do with crypto, but because you guys know I always like to keep it 100, I will try to answer as many as I can. Give a shout out to Source Code. What's up, Source Code? What's up, a primary source? Thank you all for the words. Okay, so let me answer your questions. So we have 29 questions here. I don't think I'll be able to get to all of them. Okay, but I'll try to answer as many as I can. Okay, Ian, we need a crypto leader for the streets. Will you be our crypto Malcolm X? I mean, Malcolm X is the homie. For those who don't know, Malcolm X is my favorite person in all of history. For those who watch the 100X show, whenever you hear me say, who've been the most inspirational people, when I ask other people that, so if you had to ask me who have been the most inspirational people to me, Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X, I mean, that book changed my life. Without getting too deep into it, but I mean, so you guys can probably tell, like, Malcolm X was somebody who changed his life. He transformed his entire life. He went from being somebody who was basically in the hood, messing around, getting into trouble. For those who don't know, Malcolm X was a civil rights activist in America back in the 1960s. He got arrested. Actually, kind of the irony, he got arrested by the police because he was dating a white woman. So his friends, they basically committed a crime. I think it was a robbery or a house robbery or whatever. His friends just basically got a slap on the wrist, but because he was a black man in the 1960s during segregation, basically, was dating a white woman, got put in jail. And when he was put in jail, his entire life changed. He began just reading books and knowledge. And one of the most popular quotes by him is that a single book can change somebody's entire life, right? And to me, that was very inspirational, because somebody can change entire life and go from basically being somebody who gets into trouble to becoming one of the biggest voices during the civil rights era. All right. And yes, he was different. He was different from Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King had more of the, turn the other cheek mentality, meaning that for those who don't know, it comes from a Christian mentality, meaning that if somebody hits you, right, you turn the other cheek and have them hit you as well. It's a non-violent philosophy. Now, Malcolm X had a totally different philosophy. This is where the media and the FUD kind of twist his words around, right? He was not a violent person, right? But he had a philosophy called tit for tat. It's basically a game theory philosophy. For those out there who are into game theory, it basically says that from a game theory standpoint, in any population or in any kind of game theory environment, if you're playing a long-term game, meaning that it's a game that's repeated several times, it's not just a one-off event, right? The best strategy from a mathematical standpoint is to do what the other side does. If the other side is nice, you're also nice. However, if the other side, the game theory term is if they defect, right, you also defect, if that makes sense, right? So applied in terms of his philosophy during the civil rights era, he basically said that he was going to be peaceful, but if the Ku Klux Klan came and burned his house down, he would defend himself and burn the house down, basically. But without kind of getting into the politics of that, because he definitely is a controversial figure, he was inspiring to me because he did not step down from controversy. Like he spoke his mind. I mean, imagine the era he was in, to speak your mind in a time where you barely had any rights to even speak your mind, right? So he was inspirational because he changed his life around through books, but also by being willing to stand up for what he believes in, even to a point where he got assassinated for it. And then also the downside of that, it was supposedly by his own people. Some people think it was conspiracy or the FBI, whatever, but that's neither here nor there, right? Either way, he basically got assassinated. He died for his beliefs. And I think same thing with Martin Luther King, right? Two people who had two different views, both activists, died for their beliefs. And I think in a way there's inspiration in that. I'm not saying go out there and die for your beliefs per se, but I'm saying that, I mean, sometimes you have to kind of speak up for what you believe in, right? So that's why he's one of my favorite person in history. I mean, all the people I like have always been very vocal, right? From Malcolm X to Muhammad Ali to, I mean, even Kanye West. I mean, people who tell it like it is. And I think that kind of rubs off on me. So going back to your earlier, to the person's statement saying being the Malcolm X for crypto, I mean, in a way I tried, right? But obviously for those who follow me for a while, you know that I've kind of not been as vocal online because, I mean, I realized that I didn't really have to per se, right? Because I'm kind of like building my own audience and following as opposed to trying to kind of get the cosign from other people in crypto, right? Because one of the philosophies, whether it's Malcolm X or even Friedrich Nietzsche, is you do not need a cosign from anybody, right? And one thing I'm doing is, as we're building Token Metrics, is we don't need a cosign from anybody. I mean, I could sit here and tell you about how I think it's unfair that, you know, as a black man, I built a pretty good business, right? And the business, even before we launched the software company, right, tokenmetrics.com, we were making over 7 figures, right? Yet it was still very tough and challenging for us to even raise capital from VCs, right? I could talk about how, you know, I feel like there's racism in crypto VCs or whatever, but I mean, that's neither here nor there, right? I said, you know what? That's cool. Don't need any cosign. We're gonna do this our own way, no matter what. Build it from the ground up. Only raised from just family and friends. I mean, now Token Metrics is making more than 6 figures. Growth last month has been over 100%. Monthly recurring, yeah. So basically, Token Metrics is blowing up. And the goal is by the end of the year is to make 7 figures with Token Metrics. And imagine if, because I know businesses, entrepreneurs in crypto raising money with the same numbers we have or even less, right? But you know what? I'm not going to try to kind of justify it. All I know is at the end of the day, you do you, right? You don't have to get a cosign from anybody. And the fact that you can be self-sufficient without a cosign is what gives you power, right? That will to power, as Nietzsche says, right? Because I know there's so many different ways to go with it, right? I know lots of other minorities or whatever who say that, hey, you have to be twice as good to get half the results. Okay, if that's the case, that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, I think being self-sufficient is definitely the way to go, right? So, I mean, in terms of the crypto community, I mean, I'm not looking for a cosign from them, because while the crypto community has been good and positive, some people in it, right? A good portion of the community is toxic, as I've mentioned before. I think in the last live stream, a good portion is toxic, right? Because I mean, there's so many times where people just throw my name under the bus. I mean, I've gotten death threats, not just on me, but my family, my siblings. I mean, that's where it crosses the line. I mean, that's kind of why I don't really put myself out there like that anymore, because I mean, the people who want to find me, they'll find me, right? The community and everything. But trying to talk about all the FUD on crypto Twitter, right? Because people will spread FUD about somebody. That's actually a quote by Malcolm X as well. He says that the media will have you believing, lies more than the truth, basically, right? But I got hacked, and people try to spin that around, saying I faked my hack for taxes. I mean, like, really? I mean, when somebody is at a low point in life, at one of their lowest points, you're spreading lies about that, and then publications are reporting the lies like they're truth. I mean, that's when I said, you know what? Forget all of this. I'm just gonna do me. Us and our team are gonna build our own empire. And then when they try to come here for us to co-sign, I'll be like, on this day, you're doing. I'm kidding. But I mean, hey, we don't forget. We may forgive, but we don't forget. All right. So those people who were not there with us in the trenches, those people who are not there with us shooting in the gym, once you blow up, and they come crawling to you asking for favors, I mean, hey, we don't forget. One quote from Oprah is, she says something like this. I'm paraphrasing. You don't want somebody who's with you when you're rich. No, I'm sorry. You don't want somebody who will take the limo with you, but sorry. You don't want somebody. Actually, you know what? Let me just pull up this quote here, because I'm butchering this. Oprah. So the quote is, as I pull up the quote here. So the quote is, everyone wants to ride with you in the limo, but what you want is someone who will take the bus with you when the limo breaks down. And you know what? I'll be honest, in 2018, the limo broke down. That spaceship to the moon, it broke down. And I got to really know who was there with me. And I mean, thank you to everybody who's still here with us. But hey, now we know, right? We know the people who were there with us when the limo broke down, and we're taking a bus. Because once that limo comes back and we're taking that spaceship, like SpaceX, to the moon and beyond, I mean, and they ask for a ride, I mean, we know they weren't there with us, right? So that's kind of my take on it. So in terms of, I mean, so like kind of like with this show today, I definitely did try to kind of speak up about it, right? Obviously, everything is really determined by the audience, right? Because I don't want to get too much into politics, because it's not really why we're doing Token Metrics. I mean, we're a crypto show, but if we do see injustice in the world, we definitely do want to speak about it. I mean, whether or not my staff has different opinions and what have you, and I don't really care what the crypto world thinks, honestly, right? Because I mean, most of them were not really there, when we were taking the bus. Right. And now that our channel is blowing up, right? I mean, because first of all, thank you to everybody who's subscribed to Token Metrics YouTube channel. Our channel has grown more than 100% in the last 1 month. So thank you everybody for all the support. I mean, at this rate, we're about to blow up this channel, just like we did my personal channel, Diary of a Made Man. Right. So thank you for all the support. I mean, so back to the question, we don't really need to be a voice per se for other people in crypto. I mean, we're our own voice. We're independent, right? This kind of comes from the Nietzschean philosophy, right? Because you don't want to have all of your views ascribed to just a herd, right? Because herd mentality is not really the way to go. You want to be an individual, right? So it's really it's a philosophy about being a separate individual. Yes, we can empathize and understand the issues affecting a group of people, right? But it's really an anti-collectivism philosophy, right? It's really about the individual, right? So if you want to better a group of people, it's kind of better to better the individual. It's kind of like at the individual level, not really the group level. So it's really anti-group think. Now that's not to say that, you know, we can't speak up for groups per se, right? What I'm saying is everything starts at the individual, right? And that's really what it's all about. But yeah, I mean, thank you for that comment. Definitely appreciate it. And crypto family in the house. Okay, let's go on to the next question here, because I don't know if I'm gonna get to all these questions. So many questions, so many. Okay, let's. All right. What are the odds we have no election and Trump stays president due to the war? Okay, I'm not sure which war you're talking about. I think if you're talking about the riots, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I know lots of people are talking about this being a conspiracy, and this was all planned to have quarantine and lockdown, then to start the social unrest so that people can impose martial law. Right? I'm not here to kind of espouse conspiracy theories per se, because I don't really believe in them, right? But I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, yes, it is possible. There's always a probability, but I would think that humanity and America would get this resolved very quickly, right? Hopefully so, right? Because if we continue like this all the way till the election, it's going to be a crazy time, right? So definitely not something I hope goes on much further, right? Because I don't really think it's going to go that far to a point where Trump stays in power past the election. I think because not having the election would be very un-American, right? I mean, and so honestly, I don't really think it's gonna happen per se. Okay, going on to the next question. All right, do you think racism works both ways? Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it goes both ways, right? I think a black person can be racist towards a white person, and a white person can be racist towards a black person. I don't think this whole notion that racism only flows one way. I think that's BS. I mean, first of all, racism is really kind of having, is thinking one race is superior to the other, right? And really just kind of having prejudices and beliefs. So I don't really think it comes purely from a status or power perspective per se. I think, basically, long story short, yes, it goes both ways. Okay, let me go on to the next question. What would it take for you to permanently or temporarily leave America, and where would you go? Oh, I mean, I guess the question I would ask is, to kind of add more context to it, is, do you mean like leaving because of the unrest? I mean, because right now I don't really plan to leave America per se. I mean, I didn't have plans of traveling outside of America, just because you guys know me, I enjoyed that digital nomad life, and I missed it, honestly. So the plans I had when travel opened up, but now it looks like it's going to take even longer because of all the protests and riots. I was planning of going on to Central America tour, South America tour, maybe even Asia. The countries I had on my list, I was thinking of maybe stopping by Puerto Rico because they have the whole Act 20, Act 22, just to check it out. There's a big crypto community there, to have some friends who are doing that. Then also thinking of maybe going to Mexico. I have a friend down there in Mexico, a crypto friend from DC down in Mexico. I was thinking of doing Brazil. I mean, you guys know the money, crypto, and just even the dollar goes a long way. You can live like a king in Brazil. So my plan were to go and basically live like a king for a few weeks in Brazil. Because when I travel, especially now, because let's say we're going to have a recession that lasts longer than we all expect. So if I'm traveling, I'm not trying to be popping bottles like I'm in Dubai or Ibiza, right? If I am popping bottles, I'm trying to make sure it's very cost efficient. So basically, translation: pop bottles in Brazil, not Dubai. But jokes aside, though, what I'm saying is, if I'm traveling, the idea would be to get paid in dollars and spend money in a currency where the dollar is stronger, right? So, for example, in the Brazilian real, the dollar was up like 20, 25 or 35% last time I checked. It's been fluctuating, but basically that translates to, if you have $1,000, basically let's say if you have $1,000 to spend, you're basically getting an extra like 300 bucks, and that goes a long way. That's on top of the already low cost of living, right? So then Diego, who's Colombian, also wants to stop by Colombia, so maybe even that as well. And then maybe back to Thailand. But I mean, timing wise might not be the best, because I think Thailand is hot during the summer, but Thailand has a very low cost of living, right? So Thailand, Brazil, Mexico, all these places, very low cost of living, and you're still earning dollars, US dollars, which is the strongest fiat currency out there, and you're in crypto. I mean, because if you thought Brazil, Mexico, or Thailand was cheap, imagine after all this pandemic, it's even cheaper, right? Because the dollar is even stronger. So that's kind of, those are my plans to leave. Now, I have thought about, this was some time back, about denouncing being an American for taxes, actually. But it didn't really sit right with me, because I love America. Now, I know Roger Ver, who we had on the show, he did do that himself. He's now based in St. Kitts. He kind of did it for political reasons, because he was arrested and stuff, and he basically hates the government. He thinks the government is basically fascists. But even here in America, when you renounce, they still tax you on the way out. There's an exit tax on all your wealth. So I mean, they're trying to get it both ways. I mean, but my family is here in America. But I mean, honestly, I have thought about leaving, not really renouncing, but just because here in America, you don't have to pay taxes, I believe, on the first 100 grand if you live outside of America. But you have to do it for, I think, 330 days, something like that. Obviously, I'm no CPA or accountant. Talk to a tax professional for that. But I mean, places I could see myself living, man, my favorite city is Dubai. I mean, Dubai is Dubai, but Dubai will get you wrecked. But that's also because when I did Dubai back in 2018 on my birthday, I was there like a tourist, right? Obviously, if you're living there, it's totally different. So Dubai is definitely one of those countries I like. But it's a huge place. Not sure how long I would live there for, but Dubai is a place where I actually did think about moving there, in terms of getting like a place there, getting residency there. Outside of Dubai, what other places do I like? So one site I did try. Let me see if I can pull this up here. There was some site I found. I forgot what the site was, but they basically go through and they calculate. Okay, yeah, I forget what the site was. We'll have to pull that up. But basically, put in all your information, and based on what you're looking for, they tell you the best city in the world for you to live in. It was kind of like the Airbnb for. Let me see if I can find this, because it would be cool to find this here. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot find it. But yeah, I mean, Dubai is really what comes to mind right now. But hey, if you have any others, I mean, because sorry, that site, when I used it, it told me based on all my needs, Singapore was a good place. I have been there. I'm not sure if I would live there per se, but I mean, I know it has a good crypto scene. It's safe. It's a big city. There's lots of money and finance and investing there. So Singapore, possibly, but I mean, me personally, I like Dubai a lot more. Honestly, yeah, that's kind of what comes to, I mean, if money was not an issue, Dubai, I like Dubai. But if we're talking about on a budget, I mean, I'll probably just kind of bounce around from different places and then kind of commit. So it's kind of hard to commit. I mean, South America, Brazil, I was there during the World Cup. It was good. But obviously, going back when it's not the World Cup is different. So I have to go back and kind of check it out. Thailand is good. But, you know, weather can get pretty hot. Well, same thing in Dubai too. But Thailand is not bad. You know, very good. I mean, I know lots of expats who go to Thailand and Bali. I myself would like Thailand over Indonesia, where Bali is. Bali is kind of more, I would say, more on the fringes. I would say, so I guess more hipster. But Bali is more hipster, too hipster for me. But hey, maybe I should just try it out again. But Thailand, I like. I mean, I like Australia too. Honestly, Australia, the land down under. You know, the Aussies, Australia, crypto family was amazing. Sydney, I like Sydney a lot. Sydney is one of my favorite places in the world. Cape Town is good too. Cape Town is a beautiful city, but not sure I would live there. I mean, there's definitely lots of tension down there as well when I was down there in terms of inequality. In terms of Europe, what parts of Europe do I like? I mean, London town is always good, but I mean, the weather, not sure if it's really the place, but, and it is pretty pricey, but London town was good. Amsterdam was pretty cool too. I liked Amsterdam too. Berlin was clean, super clean, you know. And then, I mean, as a single brother in Berlin or Germany, I mean, life is good. Outside of Germany, Prague, I didn't really like. Prague, as a single guy, you don't want to do Prague. Prague is like sausage fest. I mean, Prague is all guys. I mean, because they have issues with stag parties in Prague, so didn't really like Prague. I mean, beautiful city, but I mean, I would definitely not live there. I mean, don't want to live in stag central, basically. Outside of that, I mean, Russia and Ukraine, but Ukraine is kind of dangerous. I mean, we had some stories off the record in Ukraine. Russia, Moscow has been nice to me. I mean, my crypto family in Moscow, and we're brothers for life, brothers and sisters for. I mean, we're family for life. Moscow is great. Outside of that, yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. All right, so let me pause there. Hey, let me know. Is there a country or city I haven't been to that I should go to? Let me know down in the comments below. Okay, let's check the comments and see how we're doing here. Alpha Diallo, this live stream is lit. Thank you, appreciate it. Have you done Vietnam? No, I've not done Vietnam. It's always been on my list, but I haven't done it yet because it's tougher here in America because you have to apply for like a visa and stuff. You can't just show up. There's no visa on arrival, so it's more tedious. So I haven't really bothered with that. But it's always been on my list of places to go to. London is not a town. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I think that comes from a song where they call it London Town. Paris. I mean, Paris is a beautiful city, but not sure I would live there per se. Hey, Patrick, how are you? Will Bitcoin drop some more because of the monthly close? Okay, so let us pull up Bitcoin on Token Metrics. So Bill did do some TA on it earlier, but we can pull it up here just to kind of show you what Token Metrics thinks about Bitcoin. So just give me 1 second here. If you're just joining the show, please make sure you subscribe and share with your friends and spread the love, crypto family. Okay, so I mean, these are the ratings we have. Let me close all of this. So value investor, top 10 cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance, Cosmos, Blockstack, Zcash, Dash, Synthetics, Zcoin, Neo. So Neo is still in the top 10. Somebody might mention Neo earlier. If we go down here, you can see Matic is down here. TIA on Matic is bearish. I know they just launched their mainnet, so basically saying, buy the rumors, sell the news on Matic. Zilliqa has been pretty consistent in the top 15. Synthetics is now in the top 10, which is very, very interesting. Okay, if we go to day trader, so Token Metrics likes Litecoin, Zcoin, Decred, Bitcoin Cash, Zcash, Holochain, Helium, Bitcoin, NEM, and Amisago. So Bitcoin is neutral right now. So basically saying hold your positions. If you're long, hold that. If you're short, hold that. Or if you're on the sidelines, hold that too. Basically saying wait for a full-on trend reversal. So if we go into the price predictions, let's see how this fares. So for those who had questions about this, so we are going back to revisit and see if there's a better way for us to represent the price predictions and the accuracy. But looking at this, so yeah, the predicted pricing, the actual price did kind of, I guess, go different routes here. Then they came back together. Now the actual price is higher than the predicted price, but this has the price increasing all the way till 12,000 by June 29th. Yeah, so 12,000 is basically the target. If we go all the way down till June 29th or 28th, yeah, so 12,000. The high above that is 12,600. The low is 9,700 basically. So kind of maybe use this as a stop loss maybe for anybody who's trading. But yeah, that's the take on BTC. Cardano been going well since the Shelly announcement. Unibright up almost 50x since ICO. So Unibright, we have been hearing about that. We are researching it. Stay tuned. Probably won't be the best long-term value investor pick based on the current report. However, I mean, short-term, maybe some potential. Why has Matic dropped out of the top 10? Well, the TA is now bearish, so that's why it's out of the top 10 for value investor. I'm fine, thanks. Sorry, I just came in. Gotta go soon again. Come on, Patrick. You're just popping in and out? Okay, Crypto World Tour was lit. Ian, I met you in New York, blockchain. I would like to spend a whole day with you, Ian. You're so inspiring, trustable, and knowledgeable. You're the best, Ian. Keep up the great work. Hey, thank you, Alpha Diallo. I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, so speaking of other places I like, I mean, in America, man, I love New York City. New York City? I mean, New York City is New York City for a reason. So in terms of places, let's say money is no issue. Where would I be inside of America? Right? I would say New York City is amazing. New York City in the summertime? Best place in America. Maybe even the whole world, I would say. Meaning American summer. So that's, I would say, June, July. Like middle of summer. Okay, let's say maybe even May, right? Summer in New York City is my favorite place to be in America. Maybe the whole world. Other parts of America I like, well, during the winter, like that's basically, let's say, December to February. Best parts to be in the winter. I don't like cold weather at all. I mean, at all, like zero. I would say probably LA. I mean, I like Los Angeles. It is definitely kind of bougie, kind of, you know, I guess in a way stuck up. I mean, it's kind of like the whole LA scene, but LA is still good, especially when it's warm. I like Miami as a place to vacation, but living, I would not live in Miami. Yeah? I tried to live in Miami for about 3 months, so that experiment didn't really go too well. But I would say LA in the winter is nice. Other places I like, I mean, I like big cities, so New York, LA. I mean, Chicago in the summer is good to visit. Not sure I would live there. Atlanta is nice. Atlanta is nice. Would I live in Atlanta though? That remains to be seen. I mean, yeah, I think those are probably. I mean, I like Denver as a place to visit. Denver, Colorado is good as well. Not sure I would live there per se. I mean, I love DC, my city too. DC is my city, Washington DC, Chocolate City. So Washington DC is a good place too. Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, Philadelphia. Philadelphia is underrated. Philly is kind of like a mini New York. I mean, Philly is huge. For those who don't, Philly is one of the 5 biggest cities in America, so it's huge. Philly is good too. Let me see. What other places would I go to? I have to do more exploring in the western part of America. Like, I haven't been to Arizona. I want to do Phoenix. I haven't been there. I haven't been to Portland or Seattle, so I want to try that out too. Can't believe I forgot. San Diego is my favorite city. So okay, yeah. Sorry, not LA. I would say San Diego. LA is nice too. LA is for business, but for like vacations, San Diego. Like, I always tell myself, eventually when I have a family, San Diego is probably where I would raise my family. Like, it's a nice homely city, but also has the big part of a big city too. So I would say San Diego, New York, LA too. Those are probably my top 3 places to be in America. But hey, do you have different places you like? As usual, let me know down in the comments below. Ian, Vietnam is the new place to be as a black person who's looking to start out. Okay, I mean, I haven't really heard that. Not sure. I mean, if you're a black person looking to travel and live somewhere, where would you live? Oh man, I mean, that's tough. I mean, Thailand is nice. Thailand makes sense. Vietnam, I've not been to Vietnam, so I can't really comment on Vietnam, right? But Thailand was pretty good. Obviously depends if you have a family and everything. Ian got out of on the crypto on a small pump since then. If I hold the tokens, I would have more than doubled my money. I got mad and got everything in USDT now. I tried some gambling futures. What to do? Well, Patrick, I would say definitely make sure you tune in every week and every day, because we have free videos every day on our YouTube channel, right? For free, giving out our content and knowledge. And then we also have our platform, tokenmetrics.com. That's obviously paid, but those 2 options are probably the ones I would recommend to help you with that. Atlanta is great for successful African Americans. Yeah, I mean, Atlanta is great. Excuse me. I would say, and DC is good too, but Atlanta is much better. Yeah, I mean, Atlanta is a great place to be if you're black. I mean, there are just so many successful black people there. And that's why Atlanta is kind of known as like chocolate, the capital for black people in America. Wow, EWT got a horrible grade on Token Metrics, 4% for fundamentals, only up 500%. EWT, let me look that up. Not sure what. Energy Web Token. Okay, didn't even know we had that. Okay, so I guess somebody added this. So this tells me either it's really bad or it's not been graded. So it's just still scoring. So that means it's not finished. So that means we don't have any info on it, basically. We've just put it in the system, but that means that we're still grading it, right? So obviously that's why the score is low or that low, right? So I wouldn't really take that score too serious until it's been finished grading. Okay, all right, so let's go back to the AMA because we did kind of get sidetracked, but hey, I don't mind. Okay, I don't think gold would hold up in a reset climate like this. What are your thoughts? Okay, so I mean, Bill basically answered this earlier in the show. I'm not really a gold expert, so everything I do take with a grain of salt. I'll just be purely speculating. I don't own any gold, so I've never bought any gold, but I have looked into gold, and if I did buy gold, I'll probably buy Pax Gold, which is a crypto version of gold. I think it's good to have in your portfolio as a hedge, but also depends when, right? So, for example, if we go to Token Metrics, let us pull up the long-term grade for Pax G and see where it's ranking right now. So right now it's 27th in market rank, right? So right now fundamentals are good, technology is good, but the TA is not really a good time. So right now having gold makes no sense in your portfolio. But if the economy and everything starts tanking again, and TA on Pax Gold or gold in general turns bullish, then yes, it does make sense to have that as a hedge in your portfolio. Going back to the question though, I mean, in reset climate, I mean, honestly, I would just look at Token Metrics and the TA, right? Because gold, we know gold has been tested for over 5,000 years, right? Since the Greeks and the Romans, so gold is not really going anywhere. But should you be piling up the gold? I mean, right now, I would say no. Until this turns bullish or bearish, and this enters the top 10, maybe top 15, I would not really be piling up the gold, right? So I would just purely look at this from a data-driven perspective. Okay. Okay, let me see what other questions we have. The token questions, we can't really answer most of them because either we don't have the tokens or we're reviewing them, or they're on Token Metrics. All right, so okay, so this was a question for Bill, but he's not here. Do you think it's possible the US could transition to a resource gold-backed dollar, global currency revaluation? Honestly, I don't really think so at the moment. Going back to the gold standards, I don't really see that happening anytime soon. I think it would be great if we did, but I think a lot of stuff would have to happen. I mean, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, right? But basically, every weird conspiracy theorist person you know would have to be correct, and when that happens, we have bigger issues than having the gold standard. Basically, if everything happens, we're basically looking at World War III, maybe end of the world. I mean, so I don't really envision all those scenarios playing out. But that's just my opinion. Okay. Cardano. Is Cardano... Hi, Ian. Is Cardano undervalued? Because the ICO price was $1, I think. I don't think we have Cardano in here. All right, do we? Okay, looks like we do. Okay, so we have fundamentals, but not technology. Okay, but yeah, it's not looking too good for Cardano. Okay, but actually, I should be adding that to. Let me just take a quick look here. So we should be adding that to our technology list, I think. Then, excuse me. Let me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to send that to myself somewhere. But anyway, let's keep on going. Now, if you haven't yet already, please be sure to join our forum. We try to take questions from the forum every live stream. So any questions you have that we don't answer, feel free to just post on the forum, and our team will go through and take questions from there. Right? Okay. So let me skip this. What do I think of Cell? Do you think the pump will be long term? So that's Celsius Network. Excuse me. Okay, Celsius Network, we haven't finished grading. If we go to TA, right now it's bearish. So yeah, not really bullish on Celsius at the moment. Now, I do like their platform, right? Celsius.com for lending and borrowing. I think it's great. As a centralized platform, it's definitely good. But the token, though, is not really. Okay, is Fleta for real? They had a lot going on lately. Okay, I've not heard of Fleta, so in terms of it being real or not, can't really comment much on it. Let me see if I can do a quick search and see what comes up on Fleta. So I think I have heard about it. If it's the same one you're talking about. Okay, see here, Fleta at Delta Summit. Okay, yeah, I've not heard of this token at all. All right, so because so can't really comment much. Actually, you know what? Maybe I did meet these guys at some conference. Because it was a Korean company. Yeah, where I think was it somewhere in Asia? Yeah, I think maybe in Hong Kong. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I would not really be bullish on them. Oh, I think we did look into them, and there was a red flag. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but let me just double check to make sure it's the one. If the Korean, if it's the Korean project, there was a red flag that did kind of make us stop basically. Yeah, because this is Korean project. There was some red flag. I'm not sure whether it was with the team or something, or the token metrics, but it was something that told us basically. Let me see if I have.
Please don't take the
I'll take no
L.
else.
Never take no.
But yeah, there was something because we had our research team look into it, and they were like, "No." Okay, all right. So let's continue. Have you heard of Novus? Yes, we have heard of it. We know it's now in the top 100 market cap. Our research team is looking into it, so stay tuned. We hope to have that on Token Metrics sometime in June, so stay tuned. Okay, we already answered the question about Bitcoin future. I already talked about Neo. How much of a competitor is Polkadot and Kusuma to Ethereum? I think Gavin has something upside his sleeve. Well, in terms of Polkadot is really a competitor to Cosmos. Polkadot is building the internet of blockchains. The entire premise is to connect other blockchains. So if anything, it works alongside Ethereum, right? It integrates to Ethereum and some other blockchains. Now we have reviewed this on Token Metrics. Not sure if we've made any updates since our review, but just kind of share with you our quick take on Polkadot. So, I mean, from a fundamental perspective, could be better, but obviously it's very early stage. Now, this is for the DOT token, DOT. I know they had maybe the Kusuma had its own token and some other things. Technology was decent, was all right. Actually, we probably should update this because I think they did launch their mainnet. Yeah, actually, so they've already launched that. So, I mean, so it's not too shabby, but could be better. Fundamentals should definitely improve. Right now, at least from our review, Cosmos were still better. But in terms of your question, is it a competitor? I mean, Gavin and Vitalik seem to be still getting along and friends. They seem to cooperate, so I wouldn't really say they're competition. If anything, Ethereum would definitely probably like to integrate with Polkadot. Right, that probably gives them a bigger market cap and just more access to things. Right, so I don't really see them competing per se, but I think it's definitely one worth watching. Right, Polkadot is definitely a project worth keeping on the radar and seeing how things are with that, because it could be the next Cosmos and blow up. So we have been looking into it. Obviously, that's why it's on Token Metrics. But with that being said, I mean, let's stay tuned and see what happens. They've been kind of doing more marketing, more news. Is this going to be the year for Polkadot? I mean, I don't know. I mean, how high can it go? Actually, see, speaking of how high it can go, maybe we can look at the. Do we have any price predictions on this? Okay, looks like we do. All right, so, well, price predictions are not so friendly. It's basically saying it's going to be flat at $81, about $80 for a month. So obviously take this with a grain of salt. This is just our AI models going through. They could be wrong. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Then the TA is also bearish, which does kind of confirm the price prediction models, because if this is bearish and that's bearish, yeah, I mean, because current price is 120, so it's going to drop $40, and this is down 34. Now, I'm not sure if this is just the IOU on HitBTC, because I know they do have lots of different tokens, because that's the issue with these projects that launch with IOUs. Things do get pretty confusing. Yeah, because on CoinMarketCap, this is an IOU, so it's not the actual Polkadot. And this is on some not so good exchanges with barely any value. Now, yeah, so be careful with that. It's still very early stage, right? So this says tokens do not exist yet as well. So that's kind of the take on Polkadot. Let me know what you think. Are you bullish on Polkadot or are you bearish? Okay. As an investor, what is the best use for tokenmetrics.com? Okay, so as an investor, I'm going to assume you mean as a value investor. So we've done videos before in the past in terms of how to use Token Metrics as a day trader or swing trader. Let's now do a video on how to use Token Metrics as a value investor. So hypothetically, obviously this is just me sharing my experience or my thought process, not financial advice at all. But let's say I have $10,000 and I want to invest and build a crypto portfolio. I don't have a portfolio at all. What would I do? Well, I would make sure come here on Value Investor, because I have a long-term time horizon, meaning that I want to invest for long-term capital gains here in the US, meaning that I have to hold for more than 12 months. I don't want to pay short-term capital gains taxes. So Value Investor ideally is typically somebody who has an investment horizon of anywhere minimum 1 year, but I would say between 3 and 10 years. So you're not looking for a quick flip. You're not looking to speculate. You're not investing any house money. This is disposable money that you are willing to lose. If this money goes to zero, you're fine with that. How do you define money that you're willing to lose? I would say this is probably 1% of your net worth, right? Something like that. So if you're making, so if somebody is investing $10,000, I mean, that person has a lot of money, right? That person probably has $1 million. But okay, maybe it's not that strict, right? I would say, but at best case, don't put in more than 10% of your net worth into investing, right? Let's say you make 100 grand a year, you take 10% of that each year and you buy crypto, right? Okay, that's kind of a good example. So first thing first, at minimum, I believe to have a fully diversified portfolio, in my opinion, you have to have 10 cryptocurrencies. Now, some people have more, some people have less, but I think you have to have minimum 10 cryptocurrencies just to fully diversify, weigh the risk. One book I can definitely recommend is The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. And that book basically said to really have a diversified portfolio, you should have between 10 to 30 stocks. Anything more than 30, you're basically just investing in an index fund. So if you're trying to really target what you're investing in, I would say 10 to 30 applied to crypto makes sense. If you have less than 10, you aren't really diversified. I mean, obviously, maybe there are other ways to diversify through hedging and what have you, but I would say for crypto, minimum 10. Actually, I would probably go and say 11 if we add stablecoins, right? So let's say we take our portfolio of $10,000 and we break it up into 11 cryptocurrencies. So why 11 as opposed to 10? Well, I feel like part of your portfolio should always be in liquid cash, but in this case, we're in crypto. So I would say stablecoin, so that you can take advantage of dips to buy more. So that's my stablecoin of choice is DAI. DAI is a decentralized stablecoin. Right now, it's in 54th market cap. I mean, rank versus market cap. But this is, when it comes to stablecoin, I wouldn't really care much about the grades that much. You could also use Tether USDT. but in my opinion, DAI is a better stablecoin. So how does that break up? That breaks up into owning roughly 9% of 11, right? 9 times 11, 99 point something percent, right? So let's say 9%. So 9%, that's basically $900 of your 10,000 into DAI. And then you take that DAI and you do stablecoin lending on platforms like Celsius. One site I use is defirate.com. So go over here. If we go to lending rates, so for DAI, this shows you different platforms that are lending. So you can get 2.4% on CoinList, 2.96 on Nuo, Aave is 1.76%, what have you. But hey, maybe you use USDC, which is Coinbase, right? Maybe that actually makes more sense because they're paying 13% on Nuo, which is very, very good. Let me see if there are any other stablecoins. Yeah, so actually maybe scratch that. Maybe we put that in. Maybe, yeah, I would say maybe it's split up. Maybe have more than 11, sorry. Maybe have some in DAI, some in USDC. But anyway, the entire point is you want to have 9% in stablecoins. But don't put it all on one platform. Spread the risk because, as you know, it's crypto. Platforms do crash, whether they DeFi, like DAO and Maker had the glitch a while back where it crashed, I think, 30 or 40% in a day. One of the platform I do like is Celsius Network. So for stablecoin lending, this is a platform I like. I don't really use it much myself, but it's one I definitely do trust. They do have insurance. So if we go here for stablecoin lending, Gemini Dollar is paying out 8.6%, basically, almost 7. True USD is the same. DAI, actually, I'd probably use this for DAI then. DAI is almost over 8% annually on your money. So think of this as basically a saving account. So actually, I'll probably use this, probably put some, either one of these stablecoins, even Tether on Celsius. Not sure why Celsius is not here. Okay, but yeah, I would use Celsius, and then I'd also maybe put some here in Nuo, right? So maybe divide up that pie into 4. So 900 divided by 4, and spread the risk across different platforms. Okay, but now back to the crypto portfolio. What would I do? Okay, first of all, I'd make sure I have an account on Token Metrics, obviously. Then I'll go through here, Value Investor, using purely the overall grade, not fundamentals, technology, or TA, because all this creates the overall grade. I'll go through here and basically I would have an evenly balanced portfolio, meaning that I would put 9% of the remaining 10 different cryptocurrencies into each crypto. So $900 into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance, Cosmos, Blockstack, Zcash, Dash, Synthetics, Zcoin, and Neo. Those 10, evenly balanced. I know in the crypto world, people say this is very aggressive portfolio, but hey, I mean, that go big or go home, right? But it's not for everybody. Once again, this is money we're willing to lose, right? We're not spending rent money or house money or grocery money. This is money that if it goes to zero, we're fine with it, right? So that's why I definitely advise, obviously not financial advice, but I still recommend that only invest what you're willing to lose, because people always forget that. Because if it goes to zero and you cry about it, you put in more than you are willing to lose. Okay, now going back to this, so that gives us 10 cryptocurrencies plus a stablecoin, which is 11. That's the portfolio. Next thing is to come up with a time to rebalance the portfolio. So because this is a value investor or long-term portfolio, the strategy would basically be at minimum 1 year, but maybe even longer, right? But let's stick to 1 year. So today is, we're in May. So meaning that I would buy those 11 cryptocurrencies, lock them up, right? Actually, so since we have some cryptocurrencies here that are going to be locked up, one good idea and tip is to also lend these out as well. So if you have some Bitcoin and Ethereum, if you go to Celsius here as well, they pay you, Bitcoin, they pay you 4% annually for lending your Bitcoin out. So obviously I would not lend out everything, because what if it crashes? Obviously they have insurance, but still you want to manage risk. I'll probably maybe lend out maybe like 20% of my Bitcoin on there as a hedge, something like that. Ethereum is 3.8%, because we had some Ethereum as well. I think that's all that we had in the portfolio. If you're curious about Celsius, feel free to use our affiliate link that does support the channel. Just go to tokenmetrics.com/Celsius, I believe is the link. But let's go back here to Bitcoin. Block fee gives 6% annual interest. Then for Ethereum, Bitfinex, but that's an exchange, could crash. Block fee gives 4.5%. Block fee, I believe, does have a minimum requirement, so please research that. Then, did we have any other currencies here on our list? But basically, the entire premise is, since all this is long-term investing and it's going to be locked up for a while, whatever you can get some interest on, you want to get interest on, because that's free money. And then, if any of the cryptocurrencies you own also have staking, it's also a good idea to stake. So, for example, Cosmos has staking, I believe. Binance does staking on their exchange, I believe. So one other site I like is stakingrewards.com. Let me pull that one up. So whatever you have in your portfolio, you want to be earning some passive extra income on. So Cosmos, right? Cosmos is over 8% annual reward on Cosmos, which is pretty good, right? So meaning that our $900 staked annually for Cosmos will give us $72 extra, right? So I mean, free money is free money, because if you're going to be locking up money, you want to be getting paid for it. Then Synthetics, right? Synthetics was in our top 10, and if we're going to be holding that for longer than 1 year, oh man, holy cow, is this legit? Hold up. So Synthetics is giving out 52%. Okay, so I'm not if this is legit, you definitely want to be staking. I mean, I'm not sure. I'd have to double check this. Don't quote me on this. Now, I know the site is legit, but if this number, I'm not sure why it's this high. Okay, so yeah, so if you stake it, you're getting 52% annually. Oh man, I may have to sign up for this. But I mean, this is how you multiply your money, right? So imagine, so obviously I'm just speculating with these numbers here, but if we have $900 and we're getting 0.52, we're getting $468 by staking Synthetics. Okay, you know what? I think I could probably understand why it's a very high rate, because I believe Synthetics does have trading. So maybe that includes trading fees that you get for staking and providing liquidity. Maybe that could be why. But man, I mean, we're going to have to do some more research into Synthetics. But I mean, that's kind of the idea, right? So as a value investor, that actually makes more sense. I mean, trading is nice, but value investing is my preference. Zcoin and Neo. Let me see if we have any of those here on stakingrewards.com. Zcoin is 13%. So not bad, not bad. So as you can see, the entire idea is you build your portfolio and you stake whatever coins you can to earn passive money. Basically, it's kind of like dividends. And then what you cannot stake, you lend it out and earn money on that as well. So in an ideal world, as a value investor, everything in your portfolio that you're holding on for the long term should also be paying you to hold it, right? Not just in the long-term growth potential as an investor, but also it's kind of like, it's basically like bonds. It's paying you, right? So that's what I would do. That's why we think Token Metrics is very powerful. But if you also add in staking and lending, oh man, you could be printing money, literally, right? Whether Synthetics, Zcoin, obviously it is crypto. There are lots of risk involved. I mean, all these coins could go to zero, but I mean, that's why we think going through and having a value-based investing approach where we go through and we look at the fundamentals, the technology, and the TA. And then going back to what I talked about rebalancing, right? So let's say you have a portfolio, right? And the way it's broken down across those 11 coins is 9% across each. But let's say one of the coins goes on a tear and does very, very well. Let's say Blockstack becomes 15% of your portfolio, and let's say Zcash becomes 5% of your portfolio. Basically, Zcash went down 4% by a lot, and then Blockstack went up because let's say it has a low market cap rank and market cap, and it's going to go up. What do you do after 1 year? Because 1 year is a time period you have picked to rebalance your portfolio. This is what I would do, right? This is basically modern portfolio theory if you want to research into this. So 1 year later, basically next May, I would look at my portfolio and I would rebalance the weights. So if there's any cryptocurrency that is no longer in the top 10, I would sell that, right? Either at a loss or taking profits, whatever, right? If it's still in profit, you take those profits and sell everything because it's no longer in the top 10. So meaning that for the next 1 year, it's not really optimistic on it at this point in time. And then if there's a new cryptocurrency that wasn't on the list, but is now in the top 10, I would buy that. So basically, doing it this way forces you to buy low, sell high, because humans and emotions prevent them from buying low and they prevent them from buying low to sell high. What they typically do is they buy high and sell low. So automating it in this manner helps you lock in profits and also get away from losing money. Now let's say Blockstack is still in the top 10, but it's now 15%. Your weights are meant to be 9% for each cryptocurrency in your portfolio. What do? You would take those 6% weight of Blockstack and sell that to cash or fiat or whatever. Well, actually, probably more like a stablecoin or Bitcoin or Ether to bring back down the weights. So it's because you want it to be balanced. So it forces you to take profits on Blockstack. It forces you to take profits on your winners. And then this part here is the vital part. Then you take those profits and you buy the dip on your losers. If those losers are still in the top 10, that means it's still optimistic on their long-term potential and outlook. And it forces you to buy the dip because your emotions might tell you, this is a falling knife, I don't want to buy, and you don't buy and you miss out. But doing it this way forces you to buy the dip on good projects. So if something is still a good project, if it's still in the top 10, so the example was Zcash, if Zcash is still in the top 10 and it's dipped all the way down to 5% of your portfolio, you have to bring it back up to 9%. So you have to buy the dip. And that right there, my friends, is time and true tested, one of the best ways to be a value investor. This is called modern portfolio theory. Research this. There are lots of books out there. Now, one of the books I recommend is called The Intelligent Asset Allocator by William Bernstein, I believe is his name. A great book, quick read. I think I probably went through the book in about 4 or 5 hours. There's an audiobook as well, so very, very good book. But that, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, is how you become a value investor, and you do it the right way. I know I haven't really kind of covered it end to end, but whoever asked the question, thank you for that. Because really, yes, we know that there are lots of traders out there, but for value investors and hodlers, this is how you do it. I haven't really seen many people kind of cover it like this, but let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you. Oh man, oh wow, it's over 9, it's 9:30. Time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. Could I update you on Helium? So Helium, we put out a very in-depth report to our customers. So if you're not a customer, I definitely recommend you sign up. That report will be available in the archives. But I mean, it was probably one of our best reports. I mean, because for everyone who's wondering why we like Helium, that report kind of broke down our reasoning and logic. Definitely recommend you check that out. Okay, all right, but that's been a long time. I'm about to go watch some Billions, have some dinner too. And as mentioned before, I've been trying to learn how to hack, being an ethical hacker, so probably going to do more of that as well. But I mean, to kind of wrap up, there's lots of social unrest there. I mean, I definitely do agree with the protests, but I don't condone the violence and the looting. That's not really the best way to get the message across, right? I don't condone that. I don't condone the killing of officers and everything. I mean, I do understand people's pain and emotions. And yes, I mean, as somebody said earlier, I mean, I do understand, yes, and sometimes like war, right? Like, for example, when America or a country in general wants to gain independence, I definitely do understand sometimes there has to be war, right? And I think in a way, like, all the tension and the unrest has led to tension, and now almost like this war, right? But I think the other ways forward, as I mentioned before, I think one of the best way forwards is to gain independence as an individual, right? And really freedom from your oppressor. Well, let's say it's a company or whatever. I mean, if you make your own money, if you learn a skill that's in demand, you'll always be paid no matter where you go, right? So learn a high level skill, whether it's investing, could be anything, like could be video, could be programming, could be writing, could be marketing. Learn a skill and go out and become your own boss, right? Because at the end of the day, because that's why people always told me, Ian, like, it's a bear market, everyone's losing money, we know you also lost money, you got hacked, do you have plans of going back to IBM? And I said, hell no. And people didn't really understand it, but I mean, like, what I'm living in now, this is my way of life for the rest of my life. I'll always be self-employed. Like, there's no way in hell I would go back to working for somebody else. I mean, unless it was like the perfect job, unless they're going to make me CEO of Google or YouTube or Uber or some big company. But I mean, at the end of the day, right, there's no higher gain than owning yourself, right? Because freedom is about owning yourself, owning you the individual, right? So I don't really ascribe to groupthink or collectivism. I mean, I do understand it, right? I'm definitely not trying to belittle it, but I think if you own yourself as the individual, I mean, that's where true strength comes from, right? And the book I highly recommend on that is called The Will to Power. Now, for those who follow me on Instagram, just go check out my stories. I'll just dropping quotes by Nietzsche all day, and that's basically everything I did prior to the show. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you make your own money and you're getting your own money, nobody can tell you anything, right? I mean, so that's why going back into the corporate world is not even an option for me, because I've experienced it this way. I mean, so I would rather like go back to zero and rebuild myself up all the way back up to 1 million than try to go to the corporate world to make ends meet, because I know that's not for me. I mean, I've done the Big 5 personality test. I know my personality profile. I'm a very disagreeable person. While working in IBM was great. I mean, I made almost $500,000. It was good, but I left because I was disagreeable in nature, right? I left because, I mean, I haven't really talked much about it, but it was really, I felt like I was experiencing racism, right? I mean, to a point where I had to complain to my boss's boss and his boss and to HR about everything, and I was ready to sue IBM. I mean, like, that's how crazy it got inside, right? But that's what happens when you're in a high pressure environment with sales, and you have people with $1 million quotas fighting for 6-figure commission checks, right? So people are going to backstab each other. It's just kind of the human element per se, right? But what did I do? I said, you know what? I'm going to work hard, go all in on crypto. Crypto became my life, blood, sweat, and tears. You know, made $250,000. I pieced out, stacked it to $1 million, then 5 million, and the rest was history, right? And to me, that was my way of rebelling against a system of oppression, right? Because I definitely do know they do exist out there, right? But that was my way. For people out there, no matter what race you are, whether you're in America or elsewhere, if you feel you live in a place where it's unfair and people are persecuting you or opposing you based on your ethnicity, your background, whatever. I mean, the best way is to learn a high income skill, make your own money, and be able to have the freedom to do whatever you want, to leave that country, leave that bad environment, that toxic environment. And that's where real freedom comes from, right? So that's really why I built my channel, was for economic empowerment, was really the entire premise, right? That's why before it wasn't crypto. I was doing entrepreneurship, Airbnb, Amazon FBA, and then I talked about crypto and people just loved that. So I began talking purely of crypto. But my channel was really built about economic empowerment because I believe that's the best way to break oppression. So, I mean, with that being said, this has definitely been a very sensitive live stream. But as you guys know, I always want to keep it 1000% real with you. But you guys know how I feel. And that being said, as I like to say, hold on, let me put on the music.
We just landed on the moon.
The moon is not the limit. To the moon and beyond. I mean, we saw what Elon Musk is doing with SpaceX, sending humans to the moon. That's capitalism at its finest. In a free market, I mean, capitalism is at its finest. So no matter where you are, stack that moolah, make that money, and get that FU money. Do whatever you want. At the end of the day, don't wait for a cosign on anything in life. Whether it's don't wait for the government to cosign you. Don't wait for your oppressor to cosign you. Right? Get your own money, do what you want, cosign yourself. That's why I'm very pro the individual, right? Cosign yourself. That being said, I'm out. It's been real. Great show today. Thank you, everybody. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.